Boom. I guess we're live now. Let's go. Christmas
There it
Eve, ladies
is.
and gentlemen. The day that we've been waiting for ever since we got packed up and booted out of the stadium, basically embarrassed, right, on national television against the Packers. But it's been a long countdown. The day's finally here. I'm excited to. Well, first of all, let's pay respects where it's due. Our guy Nick's here, the third comrade of our usual live stream that we've been trying to get going here, figuring out our schedules and stuff like that. He was unable to be here tonight. He's attending some personal things behind the scenes, and so I just wanted to give him a big salute and a shout out to our guy, but he's your guy, Nick's. But the show goes on here. I've been looking forward to doing this for about 3 months now. The reason why it's so late, and when I say late, I mean literally like perfect timing. The day before the NFL draft, this guy right here, Ben Larimore, y'all, just credit where it's due and respect to you, man. I know how much you've been grinding on this. I'm gonna for those who are unaware of who you are, they soon will. I've already teased that you're going to be a household name if you continue with the work that you've done over the course of these last 12 months, I think. But can I call you Ben Brugler or maybe Baby Beast or something along those lines? Because
Yeah,
dude,
all due respect where that's due for Brugler and what he does, man. Absolute monster what he does over there. I'm gonna be my own thing, but definitely have been putting in the work. I got a draft report that 493 prospects studied. It's taken hundreds,
like
493, hundreds, really thousands of hours of time poured into it, studying these guys, being as well prepared as I can. But in return, though, salute to you, man. I mean, I know you've been putting in the work ever since this season came to an untimely end.
Yep.
And I know you've been doing your best to hold people accountable. I'm a big fan of everything you do. And I really look forward to, having these opportunities to chop it up and talk ball with you. Every chance we get, man.
Likewise, brother. And like I said, you challenge me. I tease this every single time. You and Nick's each challenge my perspective, and that's one of my favorite parts about talking with you guys. Without further ado, though, let's go ahead and just jump right into the draft discussion. I sent you sort of the itinerary of what we wanted to discuss today behind the scenes. First and foremost, Ben, can you just let me get your thoughts here real quick, because this is going to drive a lot of the narrative, a lot of the discussion as far as round one is concerned, which is tomorrow night. Tyler Smith for you, left guard or left tackle?
I think he can be an all-pro at both, but I think he could be one of the best guards in the history of football. So really it's what's best for your football team and how you can proceed. I think long-term, the better play is guard.
I'm with you there. Totally agree. And just to be, I guess, a little bit more clear about my thought process there is you've already got an all-pro. I mean, let's be real now. He's really played the position for one full year. Okay. His first full year, he's an all-pro there. Okay. So that trajectory right there, the sky is literally, it's through the roof. The ceiling is through the roof for him. My problem is you've already got two starting holes to fill right now, right? Your left tackle and your center spot. Technically, you can't. I mean, a lot of people feel really good about some backup, some younger guys that have very minimal playing time at most right now in their young careers. We like what we've seen, but that was week 3 against the Cardinals last year. That's a team with a bunch of Jags, really guys trying to make a name for themselves. And then week 18, I guess it was, with really the second stringers from the Washington Commodes, right? So we don't. The point is we don't know what we have in T.J. Bass and Brock Hoffman fully. And my thought process is the Cowboys can't bank on betting on what they've seen from just 1 or 2 short games, right? That the sample size is way too small. So the whole point, right, putting a bow on this thing, wrapping it all together, you're already trying to replace 2 spots. For me, you're just you're juggling. You're juggling way too much if you want to try to move Tyler Smith as well. Because I mean, he's played tackle in this league and he's done a fine job at it, all things considered. Right? But if you're moving him, now you're not only replacing 2 spots on your offensive line. To me, in my head, the way that my brain processes it, you're replacing 3 spots. Does that make sense to you? And do you have any of this? Do you share any of the same concerns about moving, or is it more so for you just I've also said too, let him be your chess piece, right? If the board for whatever reason falls in a certain way and you end up like, let's say JC Latham for whatever reason falls to 24. Okay. The Cowboys have a high grade on him. They think he projects better at left guard. Okay. We can maybe discuss that, I guess. But my whole thing is let's maximize continuity. And you do that by minimizing movement. Right.
Yeah, you do. I think the most important takeaway from it is wherever he lines up to play next year should be where he stays. Right. So instead of, to me, worrying about, well, now we're replacing 3 spots instead of 2, which I understand. To me, it's more so about what's the better plan long term. Right.
Right.
Because to me, I think 2024 is a bit of a transition year. I mean, they can say whatever they want in press conferences or in front of the microphones at the Combine or the Senior Bowl. Everything they've done to me looks like on paper that they've stripped it down to the young studs and they're gearing up for the next set of big contracts, their core pieces, right?
Right.
And to me, it looks like they're eating money to set themselves up to best be able to attack, the salary cap and fill out the roster throughout the entirety of that next contract cycle. So to me, it's not so much about what's the best thing for 2024 as opposed to what's the best thing long term, right? And so to me, I think that's going to be play him at left guard and figure out your tackle spot. If they decide otherwise and they decide we're going to let him go ahead and replace Tyron Smith like we drafted him to because we think he's going to be a better left tackle than anything that's going to be available to us at 24, then they need to live by that and they need to go ahead and draft their interior or write out, like you say, who they're high on in the building, because they're definitely high on the guys in the building.
No doubt.
I mean, McCarthy even said, he's like, if we lined up tomorrow to play the 2024 season, we have a competitive roster, and people can twist that to be like, oh, well, of course he's going to say that. That's coach speak, this, that, the other thing. I think they truly believe it. I think they're ready to give their young guys a shot if the board falls a certain way. I don't think they're as pressed to go one direction as people think or as the fan base is demanding, particularly when it comes to the offensive line. In round 1. That said, I think it obviously makes sense to them to draft offensive line, and that's probably what they're going to do. But I hear your concerns because, you're changing a lot. You're changing a lot from year to year. But, I mean, you're changing your whole defense too. So if you're going to make changes, make changes. I don't think that should limit you in your approach. I think you should go with what you feel like is best player by player. And fill it out from there.
Yeah, that makes sense. We do fall prisoner of the moment, right? When the draft gets closer and when it's ultimately draft day, there's so much to think about because, and I agree with what you're saying because a need for you right now is not necessarily a need for you or, a position that you feel good at right now could quickly become a need tomorrow, right? That's the world that we live in. It's part of the nature of the sport. So I totally, the Cowboys historically, they when they do stick to their best player on their board and draft that guy, it usually works out well for them. Okay, and I'm sure most other teams across the league could say the same thing. So I'm with you there. With that being said, though, we know the 30 visit list, the tracker. It's very well documented. Historically speaking, the Cowboys do tend to favor it, especially in round 1, right? But there's a couple caveats, right? And not the least of which the guy that we began the show talking about with Tyler Smith, right? Or I guess actually technically last year was the most recent example. It came down to it was Matthew Bergeron and Mozzie Smith,
right?
And so one of those guys was a 30 visit list guy, and that was Mozzie. The other one was not. But we know we listened to the war room audio when that pick was when the Cowboys were on the clock and it was time to send the pick in. We know that was the decision. It was down to those two guys. Okay, so in a lot of cases, and I use the Malachi Corley example, and you can, I'm sure, touch on this a little bit better than I can, obviously, right? Our resident draft expert here, Ben. Malachi Corley he took visits all across the country, and I think if I have this correct, he didn't have a ton of his medicals done at the combine. Is that correct? As far as I understand.
Yeah, I honestly don't even know about that.
So, okay, so just to finish up that thought, then you can bring a 30 visit guy in, and the Cowboys, I don't even think they spent all 30 of them. I think they finished at 28, right? Is that correct? 27, 28? See, I got all these questions. I should have been a little bit more buttoned up, but you guys get the point. Okay. Malachi Corley coming into the building, you're doing due diligence. So it's not necessarily a tell on, hey, we love this dude. It's more so in a lot of cases. Okay. It's, hey, we just need a little bit more information so that we can make our final decision, get our final board stacked properly and accordingly, the way that we need it to be. Okay. So
it was interesting because they didn't really release all of the names they were going to meet with this year. Mm-hmm. Some of it they were trying to keep hush hush. And so to my knowledge, I didn't know that, it was documented who all they did officially meet with or not. There was a pretty extensive tracker as far as people they invited to come. I think one of them that's super interesting is that British Columbia offensive tackle, Giovanni Manu, who's 6'8", 350. And I mean, I don't have access to any film on him or anything like that. So that's just a freak athlete.
He's not in my database either. I can tell you that right now.
No, so, I mean, good on him for finding that guy. I think he drew interest from a few teams.
Right. Yeah. So that's interesting, but not, so let's dig a little bit deeper, I guess, then, and just talk about some of the guys that are on that list at the offensive line position. Talisi Fuaga is obviously one of them. I think you and I would both agree that to expect him to be even remote, like to fall past 15 is insane, much less get to 24.
Yeah, I think he's the number 3 player on my board.
Yeah. So there you go.
He's number 4. So yeah.
So in other words, not happening unless you're, spending a bunch of extra picks, which you already aren't you're not sitting at a luxury right now, afforded the ability to spend a bunch of extra, like you're not in a surplus, right? You've got way more holes to fill than actual draft picks and darts to throw at people. Obviously you can handle some things in the UDFA business after the draft concludes, which the Cowboys are no stranger to doing. It's interesting that I think I find it funny actually that, they're the most valuable franchise in the world. They spend the least in free agency. Their cash spending is always amongst the bottom. But the one place they aren't scared to spend is the undrafted free agent market, right? You can do a little bit of research on that and figure out very quickly that the Cowboys are routinely at the top of the list as far as guys signing for the most money, the highest amount of money.
Hunter Lipke was right up there last year. TJ Bass was right up there last year as one of the highest paid. Marquise Bell before that. These are all names Cowboys Nation's familiar with at this point. Those are guys that they attack in as priority free agents after the draft. So I think they do an outstanding job with that.
I do too, man. And that's one of the things that, I find that not necessarily comforting, but I think it's something that I have to keep in mind. As critical as I've been and as pessimistic as pessimistic for me, I'm very much more on the doom and gloom side than I normally am this time of year, right? And there's a few different reasons for that. We'll probably touch on a few of those, but I find a little bit of comfort, I guess, knowing that there's going to be a chance to really fill some important holes after the draft ends, regardless of how many picks you're able to get. Now, I'm obviously team trade back. The interesting thing is, and as we're going to start tapping into some of these prospects. Right. Who isn't? It's a very easy thing to say. It's a very easy thing to wish for. It's a very easy thing to get excited about, right? But the problem is, guess what? It takes 2 to tango, right? You got to have it really takes 3. Okay. because you need a trade partner, somebody that's willing to give you the capital that you feel like it's deserving of to move back out of that position, right, and take a lesser caliber player. So you need a partner, but also you need a player to fall, the right guy that a team is really desperate to come up and get, right? So it's literally like the stars have to kind of align for you, and it doesn't always happen that way. Like you're in a much better position if you're in the mid-teens or the high teens, even, or even the early 20s, 20 to 22. You have a much higher chance of insert player name here falling and a team behind you feeling like they're one player away and willing to aggressively spend enough to come up and switch spots with you, right? So it is a lot, but it happens, okay? And so this year, and this is going to lead me directly into my very first question for you, Ben, the Cowboys obviously need it, right? They don't have a fourth round pick because of the Trey Lance trade that no longer exists. And they spent.
How do you feel about that, by the way, now that the draft is here? I've been seeing a whole lot of people who didn't mind it before that are now upset that the trade was made.
I got to stick to my guns, dude. I actually applauded them when that deal was done. I think it's a risk-free shot at the most important position in all of sports. I said that the night that it happened. I was literally sitting on a cruise. I was up till 3 a.m. editing or recording.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I said it then. I've said it numerous times since then, and I'm going to say it again right here, dude. It was the right thing to do at the time, in my opinion, and it still is. It hurts right now. Obviously, you want all the ammo that you can, but that's you made the right decision back then, and so now you're living with the result. It is what it is.
Pay the piper, man. I agree. I mean, look, it's an insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
Boss Cowboy, he presented me with a picture for his side of the argument. It was all about the value. Like, he thinks it shouldn't have been a fourth. It should have been something like a 6.
I see.
Like, you started mapping out the Mac Jones and the Justin Fields and the this, that, right. And it's like Trey Lance was the highest price out of the bunch, basically. And he's like, why is that? So that was his big argument. And I get that to a degree, but at the end of the day, you got a fringe first round, probably caliber quarterback for a fourth round price tag. Sure, he's on a contract year, but his future is in your control now. So I don't hate it, man. I think the quarterback room got better, and that's the most valuable position on your franchise. So
agreed. Yeah. Okay. So we're thinking along the same lines there. That's good to know. So now I guess understanding where we're currently at, right? We need more picks, really. Let's be blunt about it. We could use that there. Okay. What in your mind, is there a player or a position that you think, obviously tackle is one, it's always going to be one, but outside of tackle, because that's a position that the Cowboys are heavily considering, right? Let's just eliminate offensive line. Okay. Which position? Is it a receiver that falls, like somebody like, maybe Adonai Mitchell or Brian Thomas Jr., one of those guys falls to
I'll stop you right there. I'm not taking AD Mitchell in the first.
Okay. Fair enough.
Doing his blood sugar thing that he's got going on with his attitude and his taking plays off and all that. It's not first round for me. God bless the team that takes him in the second. Have a plan for him and navigate those waters. Good on you.
You're putting stock into that blood sugar thing.
Oh yeah. Well, it's evident on tape, man. He takes plays off. He just does. Especially when he's not play side.
Would it be fair to say that I understand, right? You've got to be a willing blocker. You want to be balls to the wall every time the ball snap, but I think,
even downfield, man.
Downfield,
even downfield when he knows the ball's not coming to him because he's locked up. He's got a shell over him and he knows he's not going to be open.
So that, to me, then that's one thing, and I respect that evaluation on your part. I don't think that it has anything to do with the blood sugar and him needing a monitor. I think that's just crazy to me. Like if you have concerns about him
Oh, I don't think
taking
those two
days
are
off,
mutually
then
exclusive. That's not the point I was trying to make.
okay.
But I do
But
trust
that's
some of
what
the
I was getting at
sources that.
was the report from that. I made a project about that today. That particular, I think it was ML
Oh,
football.
did you? Here I am just raining on it.
Yeah,
No,
no, no, it's okay.
I think some of the people that I've heard talk about it, I trust enough to know that it's a thing. But you know,
Mhm.
the blood sugar thing, whatever. Really, the effort thing, that's different to me.
That's fair. Okay. Like
Uh,
that's what I'm saying is say that in the tweet ML football, right? Don't don't
Sure.
spend some. And I get it. It's hot take season. It's fake take season, right? Like everybody's floating things out there that, you know, I jokingly said that the person that passed along that information to ML football before he posted it, probably the GM of the Chiefs sitting there praying to God that he stirs up the pot just enough to allow AD to fall down to 32. Now, that was obviously tongue in cheek. Okay. I was trying to make light of the situation, but I was also alluding to how ridiculous to me, the thought of his blood pressure or blood sugar impacting his actual play. Like there, you know, I'll leave it there.
Unless it took him to the point of like swinging on people and drawing penalties.
Yeah.
Avoid the yellow laundry. Other than that,
Yeah.
or
But
unless it
I've
becomes
never heard any
cancerous to the
character
locker room.
concerns. And you know, I working with Inside Texas, right? Those guys would shoot me straight behind the scenes too, and that's never once been mentioned to them ever.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Look, he's my wide receiver 5.
There you
So
go.
I'm not trying to say, he's not
Right.
worth the pick. To me, in the first round for the Dallas Cowboys, I'd look other directions, man.
I love that.
Uh,
So that's what I was getting at, though. So what position in your mind, though? Like, let's just eliminate AD. He was just one of the guys that he's been fresh on my mind, so I mentioned him. But is it edge? Maybe like
no, it's a wide receiver for sure for me.
okay,
It's
yeah.
DT or wide receiver. Like if one of those two DTs out of I got true first round grades on Johnny Newton and Byron Murphy.
Okay,
Shout out to Texas.
hell yeah,
Either one of those guys are there. I'm a happy camper if they take them.
cool.
As far as wide receiver is concerned, man, if Odunze somehow CD Lamb'd his way down that board, I think the Cowboys would get jumped by one of those teams up at the top for them. The San Frans, the Kansas Cities of the world, go up and try and get them right. Jake Hunter says linebacker in the chat. I like where your head's at. Actually, Peyton Wilson is my highest graded player in the entire draft, and I have a second round projection on him. But he is the highest graded player in the entire draft. The whole double digit surgery things is just really hard to get past. But when you're looking at the end of round 1, you're essentially starting to maybe pull from a little bit of that second round, criteria stuff, which is where Graham Barton falls for me too. So things like that, definitely in the realm of possibility. Wide receiver specifically, Odunze, he falls. Wide receiver 4 for me is Brian Thomas Jr. That's just an elite blend of size and speed, physicality, and playmaking ability. LSU, death by slot fade, right? Go deep, let Jaden Daniels chunk it, or just take off and use his legs doing what he does best. But at the end of the day, when he was tasked with those short and intermediate routes, I think you can see it. I think you can see hip drop. I think you can see that foot chop. All of those good things coming in and out of those breaks. A lot to be excited about there. So I think he's a prime example of a prospect where maybe he wasn't asked to do some things, but is fully capable of doing some of those things. So if they went that direction with Brandon Cooks being on the last year of his contract and Cooks is essentially the deep threat guy, the stretch the defense guy on this team, you're going to need someone to come in and hopefully to pair with CeeDee Lamb over his contract extension.
Right.
Those two would run hand in hand at that point.
Got it. Okay. So we know where you're at on AD Mitchell. We know where you're at on Brian Thomas Jr. Is there a receiver? Granted, wide receiver is technically a need as it stands today for the Cowboys. To me, it's probably at best 4th on the list as far as needs and tiers are concerned. Is there so as of next year, right? Brandon Cook's contract's expired. Kevontae Turpin's contract expired. Michael Gallup you just post June 1 cut him. He's gone. You got Jalen Tolbert, who is a massive question mark at this point, and you've got Jalen Brooks, who everybody likes, but still, once again, massive question mark at this point. Is there a receiver that gets to you at 24 in your mind, Ben, that would make you think twice about trading out of there and trading back? You know, not letting somebody like the Chiefs or the Bills or whatever team you think is desperate for a receiver come up and jump you at 24.
The only two that would make me want to stick and pick and secure it would be Odunze if he fell and Brian Thomas Jr. When you start getting to the next tier on my stack, which would be A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Lad McConkey, Troy Franklin.
Right.
I'm like, dude, you got options here. Trade back, solidify your mid-round picks, and then go get you one if you don't like what else there is, you know, elsewhere for sure. Jake Hunter replied, said, I think Overshown's going to be tough, but we have no depth at that spot. And that's true, Jake. But I think that's something that they're going to address maybe on day 2. The true screaming first round talent at linebacker, the only one in this class, in my opinion, would be Peyton Wilson. But because of all of those medical issues, even though he's 2 years healthy at this point, that may be enough to get teams to back off of him to round 2 or very tail end of round 1. And then, of course, you know, on day 2, you're looking at your guys like Edgerrin Cooper, even though he's a will, so is Overshown, so is Damone Clark, right? The only Mike or Sam, this is big. This part's big. The only Mike or Sam we have on the roster right now is Eric Kendricks.
Yep.
That's the only one, and he's on a 1-year deal.
Yep.
Okay. Edgerrin Cooper, people love him. He can rush the pass. He can be versatile in Mike Zimmer's system. That's true. You know what I mean? That's totally true. But at the end of the day, he's a will. You need someone to play Sam. Yep. You know, so that's when you start looking at the Trevin Wallaces, the Junior Colsons, even the Jeremiah Trotters, things like that. Maybe round 3, somewhere around there.
Okay. We got that. Now that's good stuff, man, too. By the way, I appreciate that. Give me your, before we continue here, and we'll get some film going as well as we start to discuss each particular player. I want Ben to get deep into the bag right here for y'all. If you're on the TikTok side of things and you're just joining us, my guy Ben here, he is our, say what's up, Ben? How you doing? He is our resident draft expert, and he has 493 total grades on players. That is, I mean, some of the most in-depth work you'll ever see. Currently does some work from PFF with PFF on the side, does some work now currently with Cowboys Wire. Is that correct, Ben?
Right. USA Today's sports media group, Cowboys Wire. Yeah.
There you go. So you can check out all of his work, but you know, the easiest place and probably the best place I would say to keep up with his day-to-day and hourly to hourly interactions, grades. Yeah. Right there at Larimore_Ben. It's LARIMORE_BEN. All right, let's go back to this over here so y'all don't have to sit there and stare at a ring light. So I guess the question that we need to probably make public real quick is give me your best case scenario for the Cowboys at 24, excluding a trade back. I think we're all kind of on the same page as trade back makes a lot of sense given the quality of the tackles. There's probably going to be 2 or 3 guys that they have all similarly graded. There's going to be also potentially 2, maybe even 3 if you include Zach Frazier, interior players like Graham Barton, Zach Frazier, Jackson Powers Johnson. We're gonna get to all that, but give me your best case scenario excluding a trade back.
Yeah, I think best case scenario, interior guys have gone untouched, and you got 1 good tackle that you really like on the board.
Okay.
And 1 wide receiver you really like on the board.
And
best case scenario, I say all of those, because at the end of the day, if you have enough talent that you truly like in the first still there, that really opens your options as far as how you maneuver, how you handle that pick, right? You can feel really good about sticking and picking and just taking your guy and solidifying it.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have a little bit of that comfort to say, hey, Kansas City, Baltimore, San Francisco, what are y'all looking at right here? Why are y'all wanting to come up? And I'm sure they've done their due diligence and they know who's interested and who's not at this point.
Oh, yeah. Those discussions are ongoing behind the scenes, no doubt. So, okay. So, all right. Best case scenario, you just laid it out right there. Which tackle? Who's your ideal fit for the Cowboys just that falls to 24? Who would you say that is? Which guy?
Tackle?
Which guy will you be? Any position? Offensive line, I'm assuming. Let's say offensive line. Which guy would you be crossing your fingers for?
Well,
obviously, like Joe Alt's not gonna. He's not.
Yeah, it's not going to be. You take away those top tackles, right? Yeah. The Lathams, the Fuagas, the Alts, and then you're looking. To me, you're looking interior, and so for me, I'm looking at JPJ or Zach Frazier would be the two that I'd be fingers crossed hoping that they go untouched to the Cowboys. Now, the majority of Cowboys Nation is going to say, well, what about Graham Barton? Mm-hmm. I am okay with Graham Barton. There are people that I personally like more.
Got it.
It is what it is.
So perfect segue then. Let's talk about why that is. And if you caught my video that I posted on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter yesterday, you saw me touch on that a little bit. And that thought process, as I alluded to, was all thanks to my guy, Ben Larimore, right here. So
got the wheels turning, huh?
Yeah, he got the wheels turning a little bit. So basically,
did you go back and watch?
Yeah, let's go ahead and.
Well, what'd you see?
Yeah, so I did. I went back and checked, and so I only had in my database. I've got 3 games from Duke.
Which ones?
2023. The first game I watched was Clemson, and the first couple plays, I could definitely see a taste of what you were talking about. And for those who are, I guess, a little bit unfamiliar there, if you didn't see it,
game.
Let's pull this up real quick. I'm going to share my screen here. For those of you on the YouTube side of things, if you're on TikTok right now and you want to follow along as far as the film is concerned, then head over to my YouTube channel. It's at The Lando Show, same as you see it right now on your screen on TikTok. You can interact with us.
Yeah, look, Graham Barton, to lay out who I believe Graham Barton is as a player as you get this thing rolling, essentially. Mm-hmm. He's an elite mover. There's not a block on the field he can't reach. He's very accurate in space. He'll absolutely annihilate any second-level defender that tries to test him. And in the run defense, he does a real good job of creating extension and driving his legs. More times than not, he's going to put someone on their butt, I feel like. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be more times than not. But he's capable of doing that, especially not DTs, but like edge defenders, linebackers, those type of guys. He gets hands on you and gets extension driving those legs. He's going to put you on your butt. He plays with a mean streak, tenacity, put together a nice highlight reel, basically, right? Yeah. That's the kind of player that you get with him. His grip strength is top tier. His movement, pulling, top tier, elite level stuff out of him. But there's also the fact that he plays a little tall. Mm-hmm. He tries to compensate for a little bit shorter reach.
Right.
Gets caught in a little
elaborate a little bit if you can. So that was one of the things that still allowed me to be on the Graham Barton train. And I apologize if I interrupted you there.
You're good.
I'm gonna pass you the mic again, and the floor is yours. But to get people to understand when you have, so he's got his arms. What is his exact arm length, Ben? I know you probably got that pulled up. If not,
yeah, it's right here. Hold on, let me go back over because I was at games watched. He's sitting at under 33-inch arms.
Right. And the ideal length, if correct me if I'm wrong, is 35 for an offensive tackle or any offensive lineman. Really?
34.
34. Okay.
34.
So the thing is,
so you start hitting 35, you're like, oh yeah, he's got some reach,
Yeah. Yeah, that's some pogo sticks there, man. So when you're playing left tackle, right, which Graham Barton predominantly did in college, he's arguably the most experienced.
Right. He started his freshman year. He took over. There was an injury at center. So his freshman year, he got thrown into the fire and played center. The next, was it hold on. The next 3 years, he played 4 years at Duke. First year it was center. And then the next 3 years, he started at left tackle. He's been a left tackle ever since. And like I was saying, with the shorter arm thing, you kind of found him compensating. So like one of his knocks on a lot of scouting reports is get off the ground, dude. Well, that's because he's fallen off of blocks. He's leaning, trying to engage in his initial strikes and can sometimes get off balance because of that, because he's compensating for the shorter arms, but he's playing on an island there.
Yeah.
So those are things where if you move him inside, the big argument for him at the NFL is, well, that fixes that. But at the end of the day, whenever I'm watching him or the games that I watched him on, I say, hey, look, dude, you're playing a little tall. You're not really maintaining knee bend. I'm seeing you getting bent over. Your core strength doesn't look like it's all the way there on some plays. As strong as you are in your upper body and in your legs, your core strength, your midsection looks a little bendy for me, and not like flexible bendy where like a Fashanu that can counter and do all those things and just maintain a solid base. I see legitimate anchor issues at that point against college DTs or even edges. And so to me, I'm like, okay, well, you're telling me you're going to take bigger and longer and heavier and faster DTs in the NFL, and you're going to bull rush him. What's that going to look like? It's going to take, look, I think he possesses the traits, but my point is I think it's going to take some molding with him to really make sure he's sinking his ass low, keeping that center of balance low, and really not overcommitting on that lean so he can keep that core as just compact and strong as possible. If he can do that, then he can be a surefire, ready to go guy. It's just not something that I've seen, and I think it's a gamble to do it, which is why I'm more comfortable with other guys that I've seen do it at 24, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. And just to elaborate a little bit further on that, you already mentioned it and you nailed it. When you're playing left tackle, you're a little bit further from the ball, right? You're off the line of scrimmage a little bit more than you otherwise would be.
You're on an island a lot more.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's when the arm length really comes into play, because the man lined up across from you, he's a little bit further away. So if he has the length advantage, then, obviously Graham Barton's at a disadvantage playing left tackle, but he's projected as an interior player, obviously, in this case for the Cowboys, right? If they were to select him 24 overall or otherwise, he's going to be playing center for you in all likelihood, okay? That the gap in the space between Graham and the defender it shrinks, and so all of a sudden, it's more about technique. Everything's happening a little bit quicker, right? But your arm length matters just a little bit less the further inside you go, I guess. And so that's kind of what Ben's saying. And Graham Barton for me,
right. Because look, at the end of the day, you have to think about how much more space you have to operate within, right? To get hands-on and get engaged inside someone's shoulder pads, or to be squared up between them and the quarterback and shut them down, lock them down. When you have to move farther, you're more enticed to lean into your block, right? And when you have a shorter reach to initiate that first punch to stop them, because your first punch is what slows their momentum. You get inside those pads, and that's when you lock up, right? But when your reach is a little bit shorter, you get caught maybe giving it that extra little bit of lean, and he's a little bit susceptible to that out there. And so that's the whole moving him inside. He'll have a shorter area to work with. DTs are looking to get inside your pads and basically push your chest through your chin and get to the quarterback in their bull rushes, things like that. So it's a lot easier for them inside to navigate those little intricacies. So, we'll see. Like I said, I don't want to see him. He tries real hard to really roll those hips and get those extensions, get his hands above his eyes and get you pushed back, rolled back, and put you in the dirt. And he's got the strength to do a lot of that. But like I say, when you play tall and you're trying to overcompensate on things, I need him to consistently maintain that knee bend, and I need him to keep that low center of gravity and keep that core as compact as possible while he works on strengthening it to play a little bit more free. So that's just, to me, why he's not quite as pro ready as maybe a JPJ or a Zach Frazier.
Perfect. Freaking love that, man. If you guys are on either side, the YouTube side, like I said, if you're just now joining us, we're live on YouTube as well. You can see the All-22 film and kind of get a better idea of exactly what we're talking about here as we discuss each player. And then maybe towards the end here, we'll even give you guys the opportunity to say, hey, throw this guy up and let's let Ben talk about him, why he does or doesn't make sense, what he's good or not so good at. I think that's exactly what I want, man. I want to talk less and let you talk more and just do your thing, dude, because you put in ridiculous amounts of work into this. And I said, Dane Brugler,
I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear a lot of what you have to say about some of these guys too.
I'll definitely be I'll be chiming in as you go. But this is, dude, I've been waiting for.
I mean, you asked me. You tell me what your dream scenario is at 24. You're putting me on the spotlight, but this is the Lando show. I want to know what Lando wants to happen at 24 and who you're wishing is going to be there, man.
So the more, let's go ahead and actually pull them up real quick. I'll show you. Obviously, so my dream and my realistic dream are two different things. But let me see.
Yeah, I hear you on that. That's exactly me with Odunze.
Yeah. I think I've seen a lot of people, a lot of experts as well, who have Rome Odunze as their best. Yeah. They're top overall.
I understand it. Look, I will scream it right here, right now. Rome Odunze is the best route runner in the class. It is what it is.
Well, I watched him break my heart in the college football playoff semifinals, so I know all too well about how that goes.
Yeah. Dude, bless your heart, man. You're out here. Fan of the Dallas Cowboys and also a fan of the Dallas Cowboys in college football.
Yep. You already know. You already know. That's just the world that I was born into, man. Huh? Can't help it. What my heart loves, That's from the time I was little. All I did was watch.
Malik Neighbors is not the best route runner in college football, Michael, because he has not been tasked with a diverse route tree. He's been very limited in the route tree he's been asked to run. Can he do it? I kind of went over that with Brian Thomas Jr. LSU is death by slot fade, man. They're vertical stretchers. They're nasty with it. Absolutely. He can hip sync, feet chop, getting in and out of the top of his stems, all that good stuff. But on tape, it's Rome Odunze, brother. And Malik Neighbors has better tape than Marvin Harrison Jr. in 2023 as well. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah,
he's a great wide receiver. I'm just saying, Rome Odunze is the best route runner in the 2023 draft class on tape.
So, talk to me a little bit then, since let's go ahead and get this out of the way. My dream, I guess, scenario is a trade back and still being able to select Jackson Powers Johnson, the center that you're seeing right here on your screen. Just the toughness, the tenacity, the mean streak. He plays like he's that bully on the block, and he's trying to move people. He's trying to hurt people. Like, you'll see him. He's just putting his body on the line. Any chance he can, he's helping. He's looking. He's always looking for work, right? And I don't have any questions about all the measurables. Check out great, and you can elaborate on that if you want to. There's zero concern from me whatsoever about power, toughness, tenacity, and the ability to move guys off the line of scrimmage, especially in the run game with Jackson Powers Johnson. And I think that in a lot of ways, man, Ben, you and I spent a lot of time talking about this behind the scenes and on, in public on PSF last year and on YouTube during our live. So far, I think we've got 2 under our belt right now with Knicks. We know that the run game was every bit about, for me anyways, the way that I summarize it to people was more about the Cowboys' run game deficiencies were more about the how as opposed to the who, as far as the running backs are concerned. But up front, it was more about the who. And I think in a lot of cases, man, Tyler Biadasz, especially in this division, right? Guys featuring, Jalen Carter from the Eagles and even Jordan Davis. We'll see what we get out of him. But before that, it was Javon Hargrave, and they're actually going to see him again on their schedule this year against the Niners. And there's also Dexter Lawrence now. There's, Deron Payne. Everybody in their division has a game-changing, a difference-making force in the middle of their defensive line. And so for me, I find the most peace of mind right now, if I were to say, okay, The Cowboys have to fix that one specific area because they were one-dimensional offensively. They couldn't run the football. They were one-dimensional defensively. They couldn't stop the run. The best way that you go about doing that and solidifying, just get your no doubt, set it and forget it, starting caliber center for the next decade plus, Jackson Powers Johnson, and he instantly improves your ability to be more physical up front at the line of scrimmage and help out your run game, which inevitably helps out your quarterback. I've touched on this too, man. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. The last 3 playoff losses for the Cowboys. I understand half the fan base hates Dak. They're ready to trade and get him out of town. I get it. Okay, I understand. You cannot ask your quarterback to be the best version of himself, regardless of what your opinion is of him. If your offense is getting 3.2 yards per carry in each of the last 3 playoff losses, 3.2. If just for some context, I've already done the math and the homework on this. That would have been good for the 28th best rushing offense if adjusted for a 17-game schedule in 2023. So just to give you an idea of how bad the Cowboys' rushing attack was in the postseason, their last 3 playoff losses, that's it right there. I think you get the brains of your offensive line, somebody who has played a lot of football. He knows exactly what he's doing. He also has that mean streak, that toughness. Sets the tone setter, right, for physicality. You put him right next to Tyler Smith, figure out your left tackle either on day 2 or otherwise. I mean, we still have a lot to talk about and see with Austin Richards. There's some opportunities there, but point being, you instantly make your offense becomes more playoff ready tomorrow if Jackson Powers Johnson is leading your offense. And I could say the same thing about Zach Frazier too. But to me,
building 101, man, your offensive line, you build it from the inside out. Your outside's your most important positions, but you have to start from the inside out. And, on the inside, you look good if you have Tyler Smith. You look good if you have Zach Martin. But, man, something happened to Tyler Biadasz last year, and it wasn't just scheme. He was just getting his butt whipped.
Yeah. And he was probably playing through some injuries. I think that it actually slips my mind. You maybe remember, but
Aisha said something about that, but I wasn't really aware of anything, but
I feel like I vaguely remember us touching on it, or like he was on the injury report early on in the season and like he came back and then there was reports that he was just going to have to like tough it out or something. I feel like maybe I remember that, but shout out to Aisha. She's doing a lot of draft coverage this year for DallasCowboys.com and yeah, she's doing great work, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, shout out to her on the draft report on a guy or two. She likes to tell people, offensive linemen that they need to drop that ass. Drop that ass. And so on my draft report, I put drop. Aisha Morrison would say they need to drop that ass in quotations.
Love that. Hey, so we're talking about centers now. I got a comment over here, Ben, from CJ Compton. What do you think of Frazier? You want to go ahead and take that question?
I love Zach Frazier. Look, he's like an elite wrestler.
Yep.
Literally. And it shows. He's got he's one of those guys when we were talking about if he bends or whatever, he's just got the core strength to get that recovery. Like his understanding of body mechanics and how to keep his base is second to none. I know Duke Manyweather of OL Masterminds, highly respected by the Cowboys, was in the building. I mean, they're right across the street. He's in the building talking to Mike Solari and the Cowboys about what they should do with the offensive line. To no surprise, that came a day after how he was screaming it from the rooftops that it would be a mistake to pull Tyler Smith from left guard. And then next day, he's literally in the building talking with them pre-draft. So, but he also said that Zach Frazier, in his opinion, because he's been working with Graham Barton and Zach Frazier, along with all the other top O-line in the country, over at his place in Frisco there. And he said that Zach Frazier is OC1 in this draft.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of respect for him. He's not OC1 for me. He's OC2, but I got a lot of respect for him. And I think Zach Frazier is slept on. I tweeted out earlier, put some respect on his name. This is the final warning, because he could very well be the pick.
Yep. Well, I wouldn't hate that if that's the case, especially if you also have the stamp of approval from, like you said, Duke Manyweather. And once again, for context for those who are unaware of who that man is, you should, first of all, but he's essentially responsible for transforming many of not just Cowboys players, but for the sake of this discussion, Cowboys offensive linemen and turning them into,
You want to think about Duke Manyweather. Think about the guy that's trusted by
line play. Let's put it that the Mr. Miyagi of offensive line play.
Yeah, he's trusted by Zach Martin. He's trusted by Lane Johnson. He's trusted by Tyler Smith, Tyron Smith. All of these top offensive linemen, not only for the Cowboys, but really across the league, are willing to go to Duke to refine their games. And so you'd be a fool to not respect his opinion. I've said it before. It doesn't mean he has to be your O-line Jesus.
Yeah.
But you should hear what he has to say. Because what he has to say is valid.
Absolutely. The Mr. Miyagi. Look at that anchor. He's just – can we run this play back real quick?
I don't see anything, by the way.
Oh, you're not seeing anything on your screen? Uh-oh.
Have you been running that the whole time?
Yeah. I hope that's not the case because I thought I was doing great work over here.
Let me get an L producer spam in the chat.
Well, somebody before you troll me, somebody clarify or confirm. Can y'all actually see? If you guys are in the chat, let me know if no video here.
Let me get an L take on my Graham Barton analysis. Let me get an L take spam in the chat.
Yeah, go ahead and spam me the L's too. Then here, I'm gonna figure out how to get that going. Why is it not sharing? Share screen.
Right, the Cowboys look to draft a quarterback in the middle rounds. No, not Dak hating, but need to start looking future prospects of the position. No, and here's why. Stephen, there you go. Now it's up. Stephen Jones just said essentially that what they did was they invested the pick that they would have been looking for a quarterback in this draft. In the presser yesterday, he was like, look, we would have been looking for a quarterback around the 4th round, in this year's draft. And we already spent that capital on Trey Lance. So they haven't picked up his option. Doesn't sound like they're going to. I think they have till May 2nd. But I think it came out that they were not going to do that. So he's on a contract year. Dak's on a contract year. Sounds like they're playing with a little bit of fire, but Dak Prescott, as of now and until further notice, is the quarterback and MVP runner-up for the Dallas Cowboys.
Say it louder. Say it louder.
What? MVP runner-up, that part?
No, I'm just kidding. It's less to do with Dak and more to do with I think there's a lot of just people like new. And
do you miss Tony Pollard?
Is that a question? Do we miss Tony Pollard?
A question from Denton Kelly. Do you miss Tony Pollard?
Well, not yet. We haven't played a game without him yet. It's too early to miss him. Right?
Yeah. Look, I like Tony. Him, I like Tony, man, but I like a lot of running backs. I think National Football League's blocking first, running second, right? So
right.
I think there's a lot of people that are capable of running the rock. I don't think there's a lot of people capable of blocking for the guy running the rock. So
amen to that.
Until that situation's figured out.
Yeah.
But it's upsetting that we lost him. I don't think so. I mean, look, he went and got a little bit of a bag elsewhere. It wasn't crazy, but it was more than the Cowboys wanted to pay. And so be it. I'm not going to lose sleep over that. I mean, they did bring back Dowdle. Dowdle, made the most of a lot of his opportunities last year. They got Royce Freeman, who averaged over 4 yards a carry last year. He's a 230-pound back, so there's your power back solution right there. Mm-hmm. You've got, we'll see what they do in the draft too. Reports came out today that they're talking to Zeke again. Of course, reports came out today that they're talking to Zeke again because it's 24 hours before the draft, and they brought in 8 running backs to the 30 list visit, or 30 visit list. So yeah, smoke and mirrors much.
Raise your hand if you've heard this song and dance before. Like, the Joneses will do whatever it takes to stay in the news. If they're not in the news, they'll figure out a way to be. And Jerry has admitted multiple times on national airwave, like radio airwaves, that he knows how to stir the pot and get people talking. There's no such thing as bad publicity in his mind. So, yes, the Cowboys want to steal the headlines 24 hours before the NFL draft commences tomorrow. It's become quite the spectacle now. And
that's their thing.
Talking about Ezekiel Elliott, because I'm sure I didn't even see the report. I heard about the report. I did not go out of my way to go and read it because that was like exactly what you just said. That was exactly my first
They
instinct.
said they met him at the facilities. And Jim Johnson in the chat, these current running backs aren't it. Guys are bodies for training camp, he says. Maybe. I wouldn't even necessarily say I agree with that. And let me touch on this whole running back thing a little bit. Okay. One, you're eating $6.5 million in Ezekiel Elliott, who hasn't been here for 2 years. Okay. Two, like I just said, it starts with the blocking. There's a lot of guys that can run the rock.
Thank you, Famous.
All right. You want an elite running back? You ain't going to get one from drafting this year. Don't waste the capital on that. And I'll tell you another thing. I love the talent at the top end of next year's draft at running back. The top end talent this year's running back, you're dealing with season-ending injury histories and just decent runners. I like some of the guys in day 3 as much as these guys that are being projected in day 2. I'm sorry, but there's a reason why the running back market is declining. There's a few that are super special at it. Cool. They can compensate a little bit. But at the end of the day, it starts with the blocking. And then there's going to be a number of quality running backs that can run behind it if you block it well.
Makes perfect sense. I think I just now figured out. Was right now, like the last 10 seconds, was that the first time you were able to see the film on screen?
All right, so Frazier, again, stays low. Easy. He knows it's going play side. DT basically took himself out of the play. He let him go, stayed squared up. Watch his little transition out of the snap here. Is this Pat? Let's see. They're probably running. West Virginia is a very run-heavy team, by the way. Well, okay, so that's a zone reach. He got shoved a little bit out of the play there.
There was one play where
nothing there, but his eyes are up. He's constantly looking for work.
Yeah, trying to find work. Absolutely. Thanks for letting us know too on that, Jim. I apologize, y'all. So when you have to click view this tab instead once you find the file that you're looking to share, and then you click on the video, it'll be like highlighted, and there's a stop sharing, and then right to the left of that, there's a view this tab instead. I guess I had to click that. I didn't realize that. So, hey, we learn it on the fly here, but guess what? We ball, baby. All right.
We ball.
So, okay, you mentioned a couple of those running backs that you're the top end guys.
Rewind that play right there.
Okay.
Let me show you that this is a core difference. Watch him combo block this nose tackle.
Right there.
Watch how low he stays, center of gravity wise. This is something I don't know that Graham Barton can do. Look at how he is pad leveled out right there, right off the snap.
Was that the play? That last one?
Was the play, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he's impressive, man. And I had already seen people that have been doing this a lot longer than I have mention his name in that regard. But then, you hear Duke Manyweather mention him too. Like he throws it out there. You're instantly kind of taken aback for a second. You're like, oh, okay. So like he's
even that play right there. You see the burst out of his lateral movement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you even necessarily have to block the guy, but he was there for it.
Frazier and Jackson Powers Johnson both instantly upgrade your strength, power, and just ability to move.
I'll space a little bit on that rep.
So talk to me about who's one of those day 3 running backs that you think you would prefer over, say, some of the likes of the guys that are on the Cowboys list in day 2.
Ray Davis.
Okay.
He's a guy that'd be firmly in the mix with the Bensons and the Brooks of the world up there and on day 2, but he's 24 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally the only reason. But I think he's burstier than any of them. I think he's got better vision than I think, he could be the best runner of the football in the whole dang draft.
Let me know.
Certainly very elusive. Yards after contact, all of that from an SEC level of play where these other guys weren't playing in the SEC, which matters, especially for something like a running back. Yeah, so Ray Davis is one. Kamani Vidal, that's a smaller school guy. You want to talk about someone that's there to put you, he's literally there to steal your lunch money in the gaps when he steps up in pass pro. He's shifty. He's got vision. He's got the speed to really make big plays. There's a lot to like about Kamani Vidal's game too. So that's two of them.
The Ray Davis thing, literally the only question mark, if you're unfamiliar, is that like Ben said, he's 24. I think he'll actually be 25. Like during the season this year at some point, I forget exactly when his birthday is.
This Ray Davis? We're watching Ray Davis right now, Kentucky film.
Yes. Yeah, that's Ray. So the thing with his age, right? He's 24 years old, so he's a little bit on the older side. For me, it doesn't matter nearly as much. Like you draft him, he's a ready-made dude. And by the way, his carries, if you look at his carries relative to everybody else in the class this year, it's off the charts stupid. Like I think he's got almost 700 or so career college carries or touches, and like Jonathan Brooks, for instance, every Cowboys fan's familiar with that name at this point. I think he only has 230 something. So it just kind of shows you the workload, right? He's been in college for a long time. He's older. He's
yeah, and that's part of it. Is running backs have a certain amount of snaps in the tank, right? And, that's one thing with Blake Corum. That's one thing with Ray Davis. Those older prospects, you're looking at more one and dones, right? I see Jim Johnson keep talking about Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright's RB1 on my board this year. He's an absolute track star.
You told me that I think about 2 months ago before we did our first live. So yeah, let's get Jalen Wright pulled up real quick. I wanna just kind of honestly just admire his explosiveness and
he's more of a zone than a power run guy, but I'll tell you, he's got the speed to outrun absolutely anybody. And he can start and stop on a dime, which is impressive for someone. Usually when you see those super, like the legitimately fast guys, they sometimes struggle to put on the brakes and start again. But he doesn't really struggle with that.
Yeah, like throttling down to change direction, that type of thing. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, just start-stop quickness, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a fun player, dude. Like
that's Joe Milton. Joe Milton is this year's Josh Allen, where he can throw the ball 1.5 miles. But he just, and he can run, but there's just things about his game that, need a lot of refinement from a mental processing standpoint. Yeah. That's Jalen Wright.
Processing, that
should be Jalen Wright. Let me see. Let me pull up his number.
Man, dude, Florida was actually kind of getting after him a little bit.
Jalen Wright's number 0 here. Jalen Wright, he's 5'10 and a half, 210. Runs a 4.3, vertical 38 inches, broad jump 134. Both of those are significantly higher than the average for a running back prospect. He didn't test in the shuttles and stuff, but you'll be able to see on tape here what he can do. Maybe let's see. He's playing in the Florida game. So in the Florida game,
I've also got Kentucky on here, and then one other school. I'll have to go back and check. Falcon talking about how you hate Junior Colson. That's funny. In parentheses.
It's funny because I don't even hate him. I've got him with a 2nd round projection and a 3rd round grade. But yeah, me and Falcon have a bet he's alluding to that if Junior Colson goes before round 3, I have to buy him 20 wings. And if he goes round 3 or later, he has to buy me 20 wings. But he's got one major thing going for him. Remember that conversation we had about linebackers and how, like Edgerrin Cooper might be a weak side linebacker. Or I don't even know if we got into that, but we were talking about how the only strong side or Mike linebacker that we have in this class or on this roster right now is Eric Kendricks, and he's on a 1-year deal. Junior Colson is a Mike/Sam type of linebacker, and there's not a lot of really good ones. You got Peyton Wilson, Junior Colson, Jeremiah Trotter, maybe Trevin Wallace, and then you start getting into the day 3, the real day 3 guys past that.
You prefer Peyton Wilson like more of a Will than a Sam? What do you got on him? No,
I mean, I think he can play all 3. I think he can literally quarterback your defense. He's so smart, so instinctual, quick processors, first steps elite. He lives for physicality, is what it looks like. He's another guy that with a really cool wrestling background, and it shows in his tackling. He's probably my favorite tackler to watch in years on when studying the prospect.
I love him please understand. Like, I'm a huge Peyton Wilson fan. He's a guy that I would actually love to see them take. We'll see if that happens. But
little pass action out of Jalen right there. Look at him go. That's a great rep by him. His start stop there and his exit motion was great. He got his whole body turned around to receive that pass, turned it upfield, made a guy miss, real slippery while running downhill.
You're good. I love that. I love the analysis. The reason why I specify that as far as Sam versus Will for Peyton, it's just like, for me, it's all about, can you take on an NFL lead block? Can you shed a guy? Can you avoid that? You know, I mean, like, can you hold your own? And for me, I don't know if it's just the body type, like the speed that he showed. What did he run?
He's tall and he's thin.
It's just like he's a little bit more of a slender frame, and so maybe that's it, I guess. Where I don't necessarily just think of him as this. You know,
I mean, he's still 234, but he's 6'4". Right. So when you start thinking about 6'2", 234 versus 6'4", 234,
it's a lot bigger than Marquise Bell, either way, right?
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I had to get that one in.
No, absolutely, man. I mean, it's true, and you know, he's literally a guy that I don't think he's limited in where he can play.
Yeah. Okay.
But I hear you. Look, shedding is not his biggest strength. It's not. But his processing and his first step to stay ahead of those climbing blocks, particularly from O linemen, he can take on tight ends pretty well. Tight ends don't give him a lot of problems. But if an O-line gets squared up on him and in his pads in the open field, he has a hard time there. So really, for him, it's all about staying ahead of that mentally and with his first step and his quickness and all those things that he possesses. I think he does a great job at that. So
let's get him pulled up. I should have done that.
Could be something to worry about. But I think so long as he's, like I said, I think the fact that he's a mentally prepared linebacker really benefits him in that regard.
I'm getting pulled up right here just so you guys can see a little bit better exactly what we're talking about here. The dude, I mean, he's all over the place, man. He's in on every play. He's 100% every single play. Like, you hear him talk, he even mentions that. He's like, yeah, I never know which game is going to be my last, so I play every single one like it is my last. And I just love that mentality out of him. But you're seeing him right here, man. He's just like, case in point, meets the block head on, sheds it, still is able to pursue the ball.
We're still watching Jalen Wright footage.
Oh, sorry. Share this tab. See, remind me to say, if you're in the chat, say share this tab once I start talking about the next player. And I'll fix it for you. All right. Now, can you see that now?
Yeah, we're good.
There we go. Wait, let me blow it up. Hold up.
All right. So Peyton Wilson, I'll pull him up. You're looking at number 11 here. He's probably going to be somewhere in the middle of that linebacker core.
Let me run this back. I want y'all to see the first play, just to kind of get a better idea of what we're talking about. Okay. Can y'all see that?
This is a guy that's ranked 8th best among linebackers in coverage by PFF in 2023. Ranked 37th best among linebackers in run defense by PFF in 2023. Ranked 32nd best among linebackers in pass rush by PFF in 2023. So you're talking about a very well-rounded individual that can produce in whatever he's tasked with. Here you've got him creeping up on the line of scrimmage. He gets absolutely buried by like 2 or 3 blockers. But he was able, if you want to back up, talk about shedding. He keeps his arms up. He keeps them extended. He's able to hand fight his way off of that and still make his way to the hole. You see, absolutely clogged here, still makes his way to the hole. He's late there, but if that guy had to cut it back inside, he would have been there for that play.
Right.
He hit him with an absolute stutter step right there. Now he got a little bit of a shove in the back, pushed him forward a little bit. He hit him with a bait misdirection move right there. Watch him creep up. He's going to hit his first inside step right here, and then he's going to bounce it outside. And then they absolutely shove him right in the back, which knocks him out of the play. But if that hadn't happened, that's a sack.
Yeah. that jab step, you know, the lateral agility too, to be 200.
He's in coverage. He diagnoses it's a run. He gets downhill, fills up his run, his basically the running lane if that back were to cut it back up inside.
Oh boy.
Yeah, number one just absolutely
He just
snapped on
boy
that
got
man.
lit
So
up. Holy cow.
here he is on the edge. You see how the versatility they have in this guy. They're not afraid to put him up there in like an outside linebacker role. They're not afraid to deploy him in the middle of the defense. They're good to have him just patrolling the middle of the field or absolutely getting jiggy with it all over the line of scrimmage. Yes, sir.
A lot of questions over on the TikTok side of things, like who we get first round, who do you want first round? We've kind of touched on that a little bit, but
you're using coverage again. Look at that. Okay, so look, this is a prime example of leverage right here. Watch him absolutely leverage this guy in towards his safety. He knows he's got help over the top. So he takes away the inside, he clogs the passing lane, and that safety is there to come up and make that play on that football. That's just smart linebacker play right there.
Yeah, he's a fun player, man. Instant upgrade.
I'm telling you, dude, he is my favorite player to watch.
Type at the position, at the second level.
Absolutely. Favorite player to watch in this year's draft. Highest graded player for me on my entire board. The only reason he's not number one is because I bumped him to the second due to those injuries, but he's 2 years removed from him.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone says, I don't care and takes him, as long as he's on the football field, they're getting a hell of a football player. Now, he is 24 years old, too.
Yeah, a little bit on the older side of things, too. That's always something to keep in mind. But just age aside, for me, man, I played until I was 28 years old. Baseball, that is. I didn't play football until that long. But for me, injuries are all it's part of being an athlete, right? So every guy's injured every year.
Okay? Ooh, look at that. Look at this closing right here.
Yeah.
Sorry. You turn the film on. I'm sorry. I can't continue.
No, that's what we're here for, man.
He comes off his assignment. He sees the quarterback. He says, "No, sir. You're not doing that."
To me, if you're 2 years removed from injury, like a season-ending injury where you're having surgery, like you're not injured anymore. You're healthy, right? And like sports medicine in 2024, modern sports medicine has evolved. Injuries, basically, in a nutshell, the point I'm trying to make here is that they're not the same as they used to be. So if a guy hasn't been hurt in 2 years, regardless of what happened before that, to me, if you're not hurt in 2 years, then you're not hurt anymore. You're healthy. So that's just kind of the way I see it. And if you've got him as your number one overall graded player, right? What does that tell you? I mean, for those if you're new here, Ben's got 493 complete draft grades for the 2024 cycle. And that is that officially, has that been published? Like, is it made public? Can people go access that if they want?
People can look at it.
Where is it? Where can they find that?
They can find it either on my
Is it on your Twitter?
Yeah, it's on my Twitter, or I'll just post it in the YouTube chat right here.
There you go. What am I streaming on? So I'm just using StreamYard. That's it, man. So I got the laptop going over here on the YouTube side of things. If you guys are actually interested in actively watching the film along with us, that's the best place to be. Otherwise,
you're number 10 in this.
More than welcome to just.
Wait, was this what year is this tape here, Lando? Oh, there
this is 23. Pretty sure.
Number 11. Look at him step up in the gap, makes him redirect. Absolutely piss poor job by his counterpart there.
Ultimate team sport, y'all.
Coming off the edge, that's Joe Alt right there, ladies and gentlemen. That he just.
That's why I clicked on Notre Dame. I wanted to be able to just kind of catch him.
He didn't lock him up. He realized the play wasn't his side. He backed up off of it, hand fighting, getting him away from him. A little bit of lackadaisical there because that play is long gone out of his reach. I would pass on Guyton and Mims, TBH. So would I. I don't want anything to do with Guyton in the first round. Mims, I'm a little bit more in on Mims, but definitely not Guyton. Mims at least showed me some things on tape that I can get behind. It's just lack of overall experience and sample size. I personally like Cooper at backer more, but would be happy with Cooper, Colson, or Wilson. Yeah, the thing with Cooper, Falcon, is he's another one of those weak side linebacker guys. You got Damone Clark, Overshown. Then you'd have Cooper. That's 3 weak side linebacker guys. Who's going to play Sam?
The thing
Once
with
Kendrick.
Cooper is he's an Aggie. That's the thing with him. No, I'm just kidding.
That doesn't even bother me, man. And
conversation
I went
doesn't
to Texas Tech, and it doesn't bother me. It is what it is. Clark is going back to safety. You mean Overshown? I don't think Clark ever played safety, brother. So, all right, we're gonna roll a little bit more Peyton Wilson. He's just so fun to watch. Look at him; he's downhill immediately. Now he gets swallowed out there by a. That's a huge. It's actually not a great play by him. That is a huge run, and he just absolutely picked the wrong side there. I need to see again. Was somebody else supposed to be in that run fit to help him? But watch this play, Orlando. This is 26. Who is that?
Real quick.
Yeah. Peyton Wilson absolutely he goes in on the gap, but so basically they each had a side here, and that pulling guard just absolutely devastated 26 on that play. So that was really kind of just a really well blocked play by Notre Dame. Wilson picked his side, 26 picked the other side, but that pulling guard did his job.
Somebody said, "Are the Cowboys?"
No, not Overshown. Well, I'm confused, Falcon. What do you mean Clark is going back to safety? Clark's never been a safety.
He probably means Bell.
He might mean Bell. Yeah.
Do I think Zeke is going to be back? No, I do not.
Yeah, I mean Bell. If Bell does go back to safety, even then you're still sitting on 3 weak side linebackers out of your young guys, and no Mikes, no Sams, past Eric Kendricks, who's on a 1-year deal. Yeah, I hear you, Falcon. That's on me. I should have known what you meant.
He said, my guy DC Cars, he says, "Are the Cowboys brass in the war room, quote unquote, all in with a bottle of Johnny Walker Black?" I said, "Yeah,
so.
Blue. Johnny Walker."
I'm gonna be all in on something tomorrow. That's for sure.
No doubt, man. I'll have a cocktail or two. Kick back and enjoy the draft and the future and the potential of all these hardworking kids that deserve the moment, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's one.
We don't have personnel for a 3-4 either way, says Jim Johnson. Do you agree with that?
I personally lean towards 3-4 versus 4-3. Like everybody is essentially they're playing some sort of hybrid scheme nowadays and modern.
It's going to be a nickel base.
Well, yeah.
How fluid do you be between your even and odd man fronts, right? And I don't know. I think they have the personnel to, manage it, probably specifically after the draft. But they need to definitely, if they're going to be more multiple, then they do need to add some different skill sets into their current repertoire and what they have available.
Yeah, and so this is a perfect segue. We're gonna get to a fun discussion here in just 1 second. Actually, let's just do it right now. Micah Parsons, where are you at? Let's start the discussion this way. I'll ask it's an open-ended question. I want everybody in both chats to weigh in on this, and I would just want to kind of read the comments for a second because if you know me, if you've been following me, you've seen plenty of work dedicated to this topic. But it's Micah Parsons on the edge versus Micah Parsons off ball. Ben, let's pose it this way: do you foresee more off ball stuff? And then but there's a follow up question that I have once we get that covered. Do you foresee? Okay, probably not. Why do you think probably not?
I think he's just a special pass rusher. I think that I would like to see more off ball stuff mixed in at the appropriate times.
That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, but I don't know how realistic it is that we're going to see it. We'll see what Zimmer wants to do with him, man. We'll see just how creative Zimmer wants to be with him. It's really hard to know with Zimmer literally, we heard him one press conference, and we know what schemes he's run in the past, but we don't really know what he's planning to do with some of these guys just yet.
I see.
Chevy says.
Go ahead.
Chevy says like to see Micah in the double A gap package with Kendricks because most of his sacks came in the A gap. Look,
7 of them to be exact, came through the middle instead of off for those.
Yeah, I call that the Duracell package, the double A, where
A.
he's got his safety down on the line of scrimmage on the outside, and he's got 2 linebackers stuffed in that A gap. There's things like that they could do to really benefit, and the beauty of that with Micah specifically is if you have another linebacker that can really get after the passer, you don't know when he's coming and when he's not, but you do know that you're going to plan for him to come, right?
Right.
So when you decide to send the other guy and drop Micah back, that just breeds more opportunity for that guy to get home because the protection assignment is not going to be focused towards him. It's going to be focused towards Micah more times than not.
My whole thing is don't make him easy to account for. Line him up all over the formation, including in the middle of the field. We've already seen the production has matched the production from the edge. Like when he's on the edge, right? You can either chip him, which Green Bay did all day. They said, "Hey, Micah, how's your rib cage? Here you go. We're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at you, buddy, because your DC is going to leave you in one spot." Okay, Micah Parsons. This is what I always say. He's got 2 superpowers, right? 1, rushing the quarterback from anywhere. It doesn't matter where it is. That's 1. Number 2, pursuing the ball carrier either from off ball at the second level, playing linebacker, right? Or in the middle of the field where you can't run away from him or double him as easily, right? Just chipping and all those sorts of things. Like when he's lined up at edge, teams are running exit motion nowadays. They're running, just standard motion. They got orbit motion. They got all these types of things, but there's a lot to account for when you're lined up on the edge as far as teams being able to scheme you out of the game plan and tracking down. So that's all I've seen. When he's either in the middle of the field, lined up, standing up in the Duracell package, right, the double A gap, or off the ball, both of his superpowers are intact. You can still be lined up in the middle of the field, walk towards the line of scrimmage as the cadence is beginning, and you can stunt, you can do whatever you want from the middle, right? It doesn't have to be. You can be the best pass rusher in football, the most rare breed athlete that we've seen really at the position. And, you can be the eventual highest paid defensive player in NFL history without just having to stand still in one single spot. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And the follow-up that I'm getting to and this is for everybody who wants to chime in, please feel free. The follow-up to that is edge more of a need, which it technically still is, right? I'll answer my own question, but is there a world where you see the Cowboys pursue more of an edge rusher, like somebody with one of their premium positions, so that they are afforded the ability for Micah to play more off ball or line him up as more of a chess piece, as opposed to, hey, when you're off the field, we really got nothing, especially now that, you lost Dante Fowler to free agency, you lost Dorrance Armstrong to free agency, and, Sam Williams, he's had his share of struggles off the field, on special teams or otherwise, right? And he just simply hasn't been a part of the game plan. I think Mike Zimmer, there's a perfect world for me where I see him feeling a little bit better. Just like somebody mentioned this on the round table with Vach, Sky, Foots, Okoye, and who am I missing? Law. One of them said it. It was brilliant to me. Like Mike Zimmer's the no BS guy. Like that may be he may give Sam Williams the tough love that he needs in order for him to kind of straighten everything up as far as whatever you want to say about the off the field stuff, and just kind of get him going, kick him into gear a little bit, right? That may be, we may see something out of Sam, who knows? But I think a change of scenery is usually a good thing for an athlete who's been struggling, and especially a different perspective, a new coach, somebody that can explain things to you and make it resonate in a way that the other guy didn't. or couldn't. So, but the
Yeah,
whole
I mean, if you want to talk about a guy who would benefit from a lot more odd man fronts, like 3-3-5s, 3-4s, that type of thing, playing an outside linebacker role, Sam Williams is absolutely a guy that could benefit from that, whatever it's called, changing.
Yeah, just being interchangeable. You're right. And he's cut from the same cloth as Micah, not quite to the same degree, but as far as being a 250 plus pound guy that moves at sub 4.4 speed, it's just rare. It's a rare combination.
I feel like there's a lot of people in the chat that are concerned about the run game this year. And I'd like to take a moment here to just kind of discuss why Zimmer being in the building is an immediate improvement to the run defense. Okay. This is going to be a little lengthy, but bear with me. We're going to start with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn ran a nickel and dime, big nickel, dime-based defense where the entire ideology was running an even man front, normally aligned with an under alignment so that you could prioritize one-on-one engagements on the weak side of the line of scrimmage. The idea behind it essentially is so that they could generate more pressure. When you generate more pressure on a quarterback, you're more likely to create turnovers.
Right.
In addition to that, when you have more ball hawk style defensive backs on the field instead of linebackers, you're more likely to create turnovers because you're more likely to take the ball away out of the air, right? So his whole premise behind his defense was generate pressure and take the ball away when the quarterback tries to throw it anyway, right?
Right.
Now, he lived and died by that. We get into the cover ones, cover threes, the mans, the leverages, all that. Not going to do it. That's the base principle of it that matters. Mike Zimmer doesn't do that because in Dan Quinn's system, when they would roll out in 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, a heavy package with a running back, right? A heavy package. Dan Quinn wouldn't manipulate the box. He wouldn't match the personnel. He wouldn't have the same amount of people in the box ready to counter that heavy package. And then they would just run it at will, particularly to the outside, running an outside zone, because you just don't have the people in the box to match the blockers out that way.
Yep.
He wouldn't adjust to it. Mike Zimmer adjusts to that. He lives by matching personnel. If you're light on your line of scrimmage, he's going to have all the DBs in the world out there. But he's going to play an over alignment where he's going to match your strong side of your line of scrimmage with bigger and physical guys. And he's going to make sure he has enough people in that box to counteract what you're trying to do in the run game. So he might sacrifice more ball hawking guys out in coverage to make sure that you're not going to run the ball down his throat all game long. And that, my friend, is an instant upgrade to the run defense compared to what you saw last year. Now, regardless of the coach, you need talent. However, who's the one tech? It's Mozzie Smith, dude. Of course it's Mozzie Smith. He's supposed to beef back up. Rumors are within the building he's going to beef back up. And DTs take time, man.
Yes,
that was year one. He came in lighter. They tried to change his stance up. He wasn't playing a wide stance, eating it, keeping his pad level and eating his blocks, his double teams, 2-gapping, if you're familiar with that term. They weren't trying to have him do that. They wanted him to generate pressure so they could take the ball away. They tried to get him to do all this stuff that is not who he was as a player when they drafted him.
It's one of my biggest gripes of the entire season from last year. The most inexplicable things for me, just watching it from my point of view. You draft a guy,
there are glimpses
at a position that you've neglected for the better part of 20 years, as far as drafting a one technique run stopping presence in the first round, defensive tackle in the first round. You go and get a guy because you realize you have holes there, which we know that they realized that because they had to trade for Jonathan Hankins the year prior, halfway through the season, right? So they realized that hole was there. They decided to do the right thing and go ahead and fill it. and again, that gets into the whole, John Ridgeway discussion. That's another discussion for another day. I still don't understand why that decision to let him walk.
No, that was dumb. The Vanilla Gorilla, shout out to our guy Nix.
Yep.
The Vanilla Gorilla should absolutely have still been in the building. Bo Hanna should have still been in the building. And I agree with Jim Johnson too. We need to go get a DT. I'm not saying that we don't need to go get a DT. I even said earlier in this show that if either Byron Murphy or Johnny Newton are there at 24, they would absolutely make me consider sticking and picking instead of trading back. I agree that you still need to add bodies and diversify your defensive front. But at the end of the day, you asked who the one tech was. It's right now it's Mozzie Smith, and Zimmer's on the record saying, I want to be bigger and more physical up front.
Yep.
And
I've heard Stephen Jones and Mike McCarthy each allude to that as well. So it's good to hear they realized what whoever was responsible for having Mozzie Smith go from 330, 340 some odd pounds as a run stuffing one technique, a can two gap, just literally say, you tell that guy, hey, at Michigan on Bruce Feldman's freaks list, by the way, if you haven't seen my project, it's actually pinned at the top of my profile over on TikTok. It's kind of interesting, but very interesting. I thought otherwise.
Everyone stop what you're well, don't stop watching, but everyone at some point needs to remember, go to Lando's TikTok, go to his YouTube, make sure you're tuning into all of the good content he's doing, man, because he really does do a lot of good stuff for Cowboys Nation. So
thank you, brother.
Make sure you're doing that.
Yep. And yeah, so I appreciate that. Mozzie Smith, though, no business turning him into a penetrating, Osa Odigizua type 3 tech that can rush the passer for you. Like, that's not what your defense was missing last year.
Yeah.
You had Dorrance.
He needs to go back to his little frog stance, his little wide 4-point frog stance, and keep his pad level and 2 gap and absolutely rip people through the bottom of the earth, which is what he does best. And he needs to eat more than a couple hamburgers this summer to help him get there. Shout out to Mendoza showing up in the chat tonight, and Evan Anderson. I believe that's Florida Atlantic. That dude's like 360 something pounds, 370 pounds. Absolute definition of a nose tackle. Not easily moved in the run game, to say the least. That's about all you're going to get out of him.
But 10 snap a game guy.
If you need a guy to literally lay in a hole,
yeah,
Evan Anderson's your guy out of this.
Yeah, hey buddy, we need you to eat 2 blocks here and don't move. Got it.
Yeah, I can do that. I will eat them.
I'll eat them.
Literally. I will eat them.
Good stuff, dude. All right. What are we missing here? Let's keep going. Let's get off of right now. So I pulled up the D-Rob film, the edge play, just to get people thinking a little bit. I wanted to.
Darius Robinson, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that would be my preference. I just
another
think
24-year-old guy.
If that's for here's where I'm at. Yeah, we're hot and heavy on the 24-year-olds, I guess, today. If that's what it takes, because you are technically down 2 of your rotational pieces, one of which was a starter, the second leading
he's not 24. I lied to you. He's 22. He's been in college football for 5 years. I'm tripping.
Even better. So 22 years old. Darius Robinson out of Mizzou. To me, like he's much more DeMarcus Lawrence than he is Micah Parsons. Obviously, there's very few of those to go around. But if getting a guy like him in round 1 or wherever, you trade back, you take him early day 2. I don't know where he would potentially fall. I think he goes round 1 for sure. That's where I would probably take him if I was a team that was
Robinson.
Yeah. What do you have on him?
Yeah, you're high on him. I hear it. He got some serious buzz coming out of that Senior Bowl too, where people are like, he deserves to be in the first round. I hear it. I respect it. I personally got a late day 2 grade on him.
Okay.
But I think that he brings something special that a lot of players in this draft don't. So I would agree that I like him better than my grade landed on him, but I stay true to my grading process. So it is what it is. But he's a guy that probably aligns best, as an edge, maybe shading outside of the tackle, all the way out to wide 9 stuff. But he started to really show his ability. It's on tape too, because he really did have the versatility experience of lining, all the way down to a 3 tech where he's aligning on the guard, head up on the guard, or shaded, even more outside in the 4. But anyways, Darius Robinson really showcased his ability to rush the passer from the 3 tech at the Senior Bowl. And that's what really got people going on him, because he was, I would say, probably predominantly viewed as an edge guy, a good contained guy, lengthy. You could see he's got a little bit more of a tall, slim frame, but he got to work on some of those guards there at the Senior Bowl and really showed look at his plan of that was a good rep right there. His plan of attack, his point of attack, the angle he takes, how he sets himself up for success is really good. His first step, the direction, his read and react skills, a lot of really nice stuff to like about Darius Robinson's game.
I just think, to me, I love putting him in the thick of the Cowboys defense, man. He instantly improves your biggest deficit from a year ago, which is aiding in the run game, your run defense. He doesn't stay blocked to me. He's powerful. He actually can that initial punch with the length, dude. He's just a long limbed guy. Like, he plays long for some reason. To me, that's what I see. And dude, just he can set the edge, man. And
yeah, look at him right there. That lead blocker didn't stand a chance.
A huge area of need for you. And the whole point of this is getting people's minds onto the edge discussion and being considered in day 1, day 2, whatever the case is. If that's what it takes for Mike Zimmer to say, okay, I have this guy named Micah Parsons that I want to use all over the formation, I just can't really take him off of the edge, because right now all I've got behind him is Junior Fehoko and
Chauncey Golston's probably going to move back outside in this scheme.
Right. So there you go. I mean, you need some more. You need some depth at that spot. If you're somebody who's like me and wants to pound the table here for Micah Parsons being able to hunt from the middle of the field and second level more often than he did last year.
Yeah, I think there's some guys that even if you didn't look at it, because I feel like in order to really get edge, if it were my draft strategy, I might look at edge if I was able to pick up an extra day 2 pick. I don't know that I'd do it at 24 in the first round, just because of all the other positions of need. But I hear you. It really would benefit the team if they were to get deeper there, right? You could be a little bit more free with your mic. You don't want him to be quote unquote entrenched at edge, right? I know you like to use that terminology.
Entrenched, that's a great word. Love it. Hell yeah.
Right. So I mean, I hear you, but I think there's some guys like Marshawn Kneeland, Braylon Trice, Jonah Ellis, Jalen Harrell, that maybe if you waited a little bit and went and got one with maybe a pick you picked up from a trade back, things like that, that could really benefit you and still provide that same level of freedom with Micah when you need to get him in the game.
Yeah, and I'm actually gonna follow up on Chevy's point. He makes a great point here. Heavy Chevy on the YouTube side. It's crazy because we had plenty of edge rushers that could set the edge better than Micah, which could have helped stop the run. I actually agree with that a lot. Oh, yeah. We've touched on that big time, and it was your most.
That's the weakest part of his game for sure.
Right, exactly, and that's the whole point of me saying move him around a little bit more, because it reduces the need for that. When he's on the edge, he's got to be able to set the edge, and you can't always do that, especially not when he's getting chipped and double teamed and just having guys, throwing bows and shoulders and helmets at his rib cage all day, right? He's trying to take on and win against tackles. So anyway, I mean, the whole point, though, it made too much sense for me for him to be a little bit more versatile, less on the edge, more just helping at your weakest position on your entire roster, which was linebacker, right? Even more so than running back, believe it or not. And, if you're deep at that spot, if you've got Dante Fowler, first round pick, if you've got Dorrance Armstrong, fourth round pick, but he's second on your team in rushing and pressures and sacks, you've got Micah Parsons, you've got DeMarcus Lawrence, who, dude, freaking all pro as far as I'm concerned. Actually, he was last year. He was an all pro last year.
D-Law is great, man.
So to me, like, if you've got 4 or 5 dudes that I just named, even Chauncey Golson, like you said, can slide out a little bit. Oso Digizua, he's versatile as well. You've got all these different things at your disposal as far as edge is concerned. Why not let your chess piece, your Super Saiyan ball-seeking or ball-tracking, heat-seeking missile Micah Parsons just roam free and just go hunt the football?
Yeah, my token phrase for Micah Parsons is simply his versatility is what makes him special. And if you strip him of that, then you're really limiting the player and you're limiting the production of your defense. So there's no way they're not smart enough to realize that. We just got to wait and see what the plan is. A whole lot of guessing until they line it up and show us what they're made of. This last year, wasn't it? And I loved Dan Quinn and his ability. If he could have, I'm not going to go back to the Dan Quinn thing, but I will say this. If he could have blended his genius with the coverage and his ability to take the ball away with being more fluid up front and matching personnel and doing all the right things to limit the run game, then he really could have he could – the sky is the limit. But nope, it was y'all are going to play – we're going to play to our strengths and y'all are going to have to beat us. And good teams did. Good coaches did. So we'll see how it goes.
Chevy, sorry, I'm still trying to finish up my dinner over here, so y'all just bear with me, man. We're vibing. We're hanging out tonight.
Not too big of a fan of this edge class TBH. Mendoza, I agree. There's a handful I'm cool with.
For the record, that's why I said I could see Darius Robinson going in round 1, just because it's just
like
not,
10 of them.
It's not an elite year for it.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan. I'm also the guy that's anti, well, there's not a lot of them, so they're going to get pushed up the board. If I was ever in a draft, I would never do that.
Yeah.
I would never take a guy above his draft position simply because there's not a lot of good ones. I just wouldn't. If he's there when I think he's what he's worth, then that's when I'd take him.
Who was I supposed to be looking for? Oh, wait. Who did
Chevy? Braylon Trice. Oh, yeah. Braylon Trice is good. Look, Braylon Trice is
thank you, Asher.
Braylon. Yeah, tab the video. Yeah. Braylon Trice is a guy that is a disruptor. He is constantly in the backfield. He knows how to push the pocket, push the edge, contain the edge, all those things. But my God, if he is not potentially the worst finisher in this draft class, if he could finish even adequately well, then he'd be a first-round talent.
Here's a little CFP action for y'all. That's
just got absolutely swallowed up by a double team there from the tight end. Or that's not even tight end. That's a wide receiver. No, that's a tight end. Okay, there we go. Is that AJ Barner? Not a fan of AJ Barner, by the way. Who's number 18? Is that AJ Barner or is that?
I'm actually not sure.
That's not Roman Wilson. Hold on.
No. What number? Roman was he 10? No, he was 1. I think he was 1.
I don't remember, dude. After 490 of them, you don't remember. Yeah, 89 was Barner. Roman Wilson was.
While we're here, Chevy, did you have a specific question regarding Braylon Trice?
No, he was just saying that he liked him.
Okay.
Yeah, Roman Wilson wore number 1 and number 14. He switched numbers, actually.
That's right. Well, you definitely can tell Dryce was coached up not to cede the edge, right? He's very good about that. He maintains that edge, which is great. You can see him. He's one-on-one, just kind of locked up with that tackle. He didn't move backwards. That's a win. But yeah, powerful player. More of like, what's his weight? What do you weigh in at the combine, Ben?
Here, I'll pull up his profile and tell you what I got on him. I got a 3rd-round grade and a 3rd-round projection on him. He's 23 years old. He's 6'3.5", 245 pounds.
He looks and plays bigger than 240.
Yeah, he does. 32.5-inch arms. So not super lengthy by any stretch, but pretty standard there. My notes on him: seems to consistently be disturbing the ball carrier in the backfield. He's got good play strength, plays with physicality. He's got an ideal combination of size and athleticism. His speed to power rush is basically his game in a nutshell as a pass rusher. He's got good pass level in his release from a 3-point stance. He counters O-line aggression really well. Powerful hands, powerful arms, got a good first step. Really good at getting out of his stance, plays with a red-hot motor. 8 sacks in 2023. And I put 3 exclamation points next to this next part. 80 pressures. 80 pressures in 2023. That's a lot.
Hey, Ben, is that good?
That's pretty good. Pretty good. So things that aren't so great. 23 years old on draft night. Very concerning finishing, tackling ability. He's not really elite at cornering. He's got average bend, so when he's doing his speed rush, really flattening out, bending that shoulder around the tackle and flattening out, not really the strength of his game. His length and his reach isn't elite, so lengthier offensive tackles like a Joe Alt or something, probably going to have some problems against someone like that. He's got average change of direction ability. Staying squared up as a run blocker can be a problem on that play that you were talking about, where he doesn't really give up the edge. That's kind of an example of it. He needs to be able to maintain staying square with his eyes upfield to be able to shed and react a little better than he does regularly.
Like right there. So let's run this play back right here. Watch whoever that tight end is. Luke Schoonmaker's back up, we'll call it. Ended up pretty much taking him out of that play there. He tried to, like you're saying, he couldn't shed initially, so he lost his center of gravity, ended up way off balance, and he pretty much gave up that C gap right there, and that was what allowed that touchdown to occur. Let's go back a little
That's bit. AJ Barner. That's who we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I think it's right here. Yeah, so watch him try to shed, can't do it, turns his back to the play, the cutback happens, and boom, off to the races. So
that's that's what.
Look at Scooney's.
We might call that in the office a shitty play.
Yeah, no doubt. Still, we're taking notes here as we go. I'd be curious to know, like, if somebody's into this stuff a little bit more technically as a defensive line coach, something along those lines. It doesn't ever seem to me like it's a good idea to give your back to the play.
Oh no, he was just trying to disengage. That dude had him. AJ Barner had him inside his pads, and the only move he had left was to try and spin off of it, and he gave up his back and just got drove out of the play. Period.
Yeah, I'm with Chevy too on that. The motor is undeniable with him. I mean, he's pretty relentless, and I respect that 100%.
I want to see him get after this passer. Oh, he drops into coverage right here.
Yeah, I see Jimmy Johnson also says that Zimmer would be good for a guy like him. I agree.
Yeah, well, basically anything that's an odd man front, right?
Right.
I mean, look at it right here. You got a nose tackle, you got 2 DTs, and you got 2 outside linebackers. That's where he thrives.
That's your classic 3-4 look as well. Oh, good ball, JJ. Boy. What did somebody earlier, was it Jim? Was it Jim that mentioned, I meant to get back to this. Something about Justin Herbert
Yeah, there's rumors swirling that Minnesota is going to go after Justin Herbert.
So I mean, I guess I could like the Chargers feel like they can.
JJ McCarthy.
Dude, I understand.
Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I get the connection. I'm saying like that's a franchise caliber guy. Boy, that would be bold. That would be bold.
I mean, if they give up Herbert, they're gonna be getting something for him. So
no doubt about it. No doubt about it. They're sitting at 5 currently, correct, in the draft.
Yeah, they're 5th.
Yeah, imagine. Boy. So the Vikings, they currently hold 2. They hold pick 11 and 23. Let's just play out this scenario here for a second. Let's do this. Let's pull up Justin Herbert's contract on SpoTrack real fast. Can you see that screen, Ben? Not yet.
I'm still watching Braylon Trice get his butt whooped.
That's what I want. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. I don't want y'all to see this yet. Hold on. What was that? Who are we talking about?
Justin Herbert.
Thank you. Y'all can tell how tired I am. Sorry.
Man,
all right, Justin Herbert.
Yeah, we're gonna get to a mock draft here in a little bit too. We'll have to get y'all in the chat.
Let's go ahead and actually jump into that here pretty quick, if that's cool with you. Yeah. So he's.
Well, which way do you want to do it? Do you want to do a first round so we can get an idea of what teams in front of us might be looking at, or do you want to do a 7th or like a full 7 of just the Cowboys, or do you want to do both?
Let's start with a 3, or we can even just do a 1 if you wanted to. But we can start. I say we start with a 3 just to keep it easy to process, easy to digest, and maybe who knows, maybe day 2 of the draft. Yeah.
That's
so
easy.
Here's Justin Herbert's contract right now. So he signed what was his most recent one? 5 for $262. Okay, so APY 52.5. So he's booked. He's booked through. So that helps, right? If you're getting ready to give up 2 first-round picks 11 and 23, and then most likely at least another couple day 2 picks, I would imagine. Granted, you already are incurring a pretty sizable. You said what?
Next year's first would probably need to be included in that as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. At least another couple day 2s, right? So potentially talking about, let's just call it 3 first-round picks and maybe another day 2 or something along those lines. But it helps, right? If you're a GM getting ready to pull the trigger on that. In this case, God, I would love to see Justin Herbert play with Justin Jefferson and. Oh boy. That
would suck. Anyway. Imagine having to go from living the LA lifestyle to moving to Minnesota.
Yeah, that's true. But if Justin Herbert's all about
football, I don't know what the tax difference would be there. That might be
that's something to consider for sure. But if you're the GM of the Vikings, right? And I forget his name. What's his name? Somebody tell me in the chat. If you're that guy, you pull the trigger, understanding what his money looks like all the way up until, you're talking about being in 2027 before you have to even consider re-upping and extending and paying him again. So, by then, who knows how much quarterbacks are going to be making. But at least that part, like, you don't have to sprint to the negotiation table immediately after trading. Like, that doesn't have to be something that's getting configured behind the scenes. So the fact that he does have his long-term extension already in place, it definitely helps. I guess a potential buyer. But if you're the Chargers and you've got that much money invested, I understand it's completely new regime now, beginning with Harbaugh, right? He may want to start fresh, but are you willing to sell? That's the biggest question. And who knows how much fire is attached to that smoke that we're starting to see.
By the way, I was talking to Canadips. Oh, it won't show. There we go. Canadips. I was talking to them about being sponsored by them for any content ventures that I were inevitably to pursue. So they're like, well, send us what you want to do.
What's Canadips? How's that different from
Canadips? A leading alternative to dipping tobacco.
Okay. So what is it like? Is it
highly recommend Canadips to anybody who's looking for an alternative to dipping tobacco. It's no nicotine, no tobacco. It's just cannabis, just basically chopped up, and it's got a CBD in each pouch, and it's affordable too. It's not crazy. It's literally
it's got CBD in it.
Yeah, CBD. It's literally about the same price as going to buy yourself a can of dip, and
that's
the
awesome.
flavor is real good. It lasts a long time.
I supplement CBD daily, by the way. I mean, as a former
how do they do it on Talladega Nights? If you don't dip can of dips, then fuck you.
What's up, Michael? Michael Orlando over on the TikTok side of things.
If you don't chew Big Red, fuck you. That's what he said.
To answer your question real quick, Michael, I hope not. Personally, there's just too many holes to fill. Not enough draft picks to fill them.
Bro, it says draft Colson and Corum.
Yeah,
right, we'll be sure to do that on day 3.
That's why I say bro knows. Jane Slater's questions to Jerry. How did you feel about his answers? Dude, I guess we can talk about that if we want to. I wonder if I could get audio. I don't know if StreamYard will pull up audio from that interview, but we should have definitely done like a read or a listen and react segment to that. It's borderline comedy, really. Over there talking about John Stevens.
He said, how do you feel about waiting on all of the contracts and not getting ahead of them? And he said, your problem is, and she said, I don't have a problem. It's not my problem.
That man.
No, you're right. You're actually quite great. Mike McCarthy's trying not to bust out laughing.
All right, let's get off this Justin Herbert stuff. Who do you want to talk about next? Or do you just want to jump straight? Which site you want to use for the mock? Let's do that.
Let the chat decide. Chat, what website would y'all like for us to use?
Which service y'all want me to use? Let me know.
This mock draft.
You all good, Jimmy? I don't even know how many hours into this right now. What time is it?
Almost 2. Coming up on 2 hours of talking draft and talking Cowboys. And I feel like we're just getting started.
We are, baby. PFF to support Ben. All right, bet. Love it.
Well, thank you. I'm gonna be taking.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna be taking a little bit of a step back with a baby on the way this year, but it's fun. It's a good job.
What's the best like keyword to type in? PFF, just mock draft simulator or whatever?
PFF mock draft simulator.
Bet.
Use my credentials to log in if you want a 7th round, like if you want the ability to do a 7-rounder instead of a 3. Okay. Now we can do like an all 32 where we run through the whole first round for everyone, or we can just do Cowboys specific.
Yeah, let's just keep it Cowboys specific. Since I would say let's do all 32 and just do a one round mock draft.
You want to be here all night?
Yeah, I was gonna say since we're already 2 hours deep here, but I mean it's up to you, whatever you want to do.
Man, you run it however you want to run it, and I'm here for it.
Okay. So
I'm here for absolutely as long as you want to do this. I'm good.
This tab. Can you see this tab now?
I need to see more leaves. Yeah, dude. I want more. If the deal's not done yet, if you're asking about the time and why it's not in the drawer, it's because I'm not ready to roll. Like, bro, what more do you need to see? They're literally like 3 of the best players at their position, like in the entire league. It ain't their fault that you're not winning.
Right. All right. So let's go ahead and do it this way. Let's do public versus PFF board.
I haven't actually run a lot of mocks lately.
I'm not a mock guy, as you can tell.
I've talked to Trevor about
something. There's too much random.
I've talked to Trevor Sikkema about 1 or 2 of these rankings on here. You can be sure of that. But I would crank that public to PFF one up a little bit. No. Like halfway. Literally just like a notch. No, I wouldn't even go halfway. I'd go, like maybe like right there. And then I'd probably go care for positional value. I'd probably put that a tick higher. Okay. And that's probably good. Randomness just is fine. And yeah, that's probably good. Now click on Cowboys.
Let's do 3 rounds. Let's do select your teams, Cowboys.
Click on 7. This won't take very long. Just do a 7 round.
Gonna do 7. Okay, let's do 7. We'll give the people what they want. What do y'all know about that? I should have included mock draft in the thumbnail. I bet you a ton more people would be clicking right now. People love mock drafts, man. I never do them. I don't.
Hey, get ready. This is clip it material right here is what we're about to do.
Yep.
All right, so you just start it and press
start it up.
And it's gonna roll. All right, so like scroll up there.
Let's go see how it fell. Just kind of talk it through a little bit.
All right, so Caleb went. Jaden Daniels was unhappy that they called him in at Washington, and he thought it was a special trip just for him, and it was more than just him. So he was salty about that. So Washington said, "Fine, we're going to take Drake May," and New England said, "Thank you very much for taking Drake May. We're going to take the number 2 QB2 in this draft at pick number 3." They took Jaden Daniels. Marvin Harrison Jr. Cardinals believe he's the best wide receiver in the draft and can't pass on him. The Chargers decide to stick and pick and take Brock Bowers at number 5. Now, that is a surprise because they need a right tackle. We've mentioned this on the show before. I believe it would be a mistake for them to take Joe Alt when they have Rashawn Slater on their roster. I think Fuaga is a much better fit at right tackle. I don't like the way Alt moves on the right side of the line. I think he looks unnatural and awkward. So it's kind of risky to run that. But they decided to go tight end. My dream of Rome Odunze falling to the Cowboys at 24.
Dead at
dead in the water before Malik Neighbors and everything. Rome Odunze is off the board to the Giants. Titans do the smart thing. They go Joe Alt. Quinyon Mitchell is the first cornerback off the board to the Atlanta Falcons. I agree with that move. I think he's cornerback 1 on my draft stack. He's sitting at go over one more here. On my draft stack, I've got Quinyon Mitchell as the second player on my board. So I think they got an absolute steal there. Malik Neighbors to the Bears. They said, "Thank you very much. We got Caleb Williams and Malik Neighbors out of this draft. Y'all have a nice evening." And then Dallas Turner to the Jets. Don't know that one makes a lot of sense.
Not for me. Not for me.
They need offensive linemen.
They mentioned who the Jets taking at 10. If they're not taking another tackle here, they're out of their damn minds.
That one, that's a simulator at work right there.
Yeah, it's a simulator. Yeah.
The Vikings don't trade for Herbert, and they stick around, and J.J. McCarthy falls all the way to them at pick number 11, and they are probably skipping around in their facility over that. Talisi Fuaga, who is the number 4 player on my board, falls all the way down to the Broncos at 12.
Can we get a prediction from you real quick here?
Prediction
with the Chargers. Let's assume that they don't trade Justin Herbert, right? Then they're keeping him, and they're going to take an offensive lineman. Would you venture to say, is it safe in Ben's mind that Talisi Fuaga is the first offensive lineman off the board tomorrow night? In that particular scenario.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would do. Will they do it? I have no clue. I just don't think it's smart to take. I think Alt's the best tackle. He's literally number 1 on my board. But he's a left tackle, and they have Slater. So
right, exactly.
That's the issue for me. I don't see this mock being very accurate. Asher says that's fair. They never are, but yeah. So Fashani's off.
That's why I never participate in them for what it's worth.
Arnold's off. Murphy's off. Fatani's off. Verse is off. Cooper DeJean's off. Graham Barton went to the Steelers. I think a lot of people actually think that's going to happen. What year 3 players will show out? We'll get to that. Marius Mims, A.D. Mitchell, your guy, went to the Eagles. Hey. Yeah. More power to him, man. Feel free, have fun, good luck. And of course, Johnny Newton is off the board. So something a lot of people want to have happen is Latu. Latu's fallen to the Cowboys at 24. I definitely have a first round grade on him. I did peg him with a second round projection because of the medicals. I heard that those weren't necessarily completely clean coming out of the combine. So who's going to run that risk? Brian Thomas Jr. is on the board for the Cowboys at 24, as is Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Hey,
Laz Rodriguez says JPJ or Graham Barton, do you prefer? It's JPJ for me, Laz. And we talked about that a little bit earlier in the show. If you want to run that back, you can hear my reasonings as to why. No shade to Graham Barton, though. I think he's a hell of a football player. Here's where we're at. We've got Brian Thomas Jr., Latu, and Jackson Powers Johnson. If you scroll down, obviously we've got a couple cornerbacks still on the board. If you scroll it down, though, we're probably looking at Zach Frazier, probably looking at Peyton Wilson, and among other players. It looks like we're pretty wiped at tackle here.
Let's where's the trade back? Like, there's got to be a trade back.
It says trade right there, next to draft a player below Dallas Cowboys. You see the blue star?
Oh yeah, there we go. I got three. Okay, so as expected, we talked about this a little bit earlier too. The Chiefs.
All right, so Kansas City Chiefs see someone they like. I'm willing to bet it's Brian Thomas Jr.
Me too.
Brian Thomas Jr. is on the board, and we're at 24, and we're considering moving away from him for the Kansas City Chiefs to move back 8 spots. It's a lot of spots.
It's a lot of spots. Would you jump back from 24 to 32 and pick up an extra 2 to do that, to make that move?
Well, click it in there.
Giving up 95.
See if they'd accept 64, and then click on 24.
So 32 and 64 in exchange for number 24. So the Cowboys move back 8 slots. Instead of picking 24th overall, they're now picking 32nd overall, and they also add an extra day 2 pick. So they would have, in this case, pick number 32 overall. They would have 56. They would have 64. They would have 87, and they would have 95. So that gives you – that's lots of ammo, man.
Yeah, you're definitely the last pick in the second round is enticing, right? 8 spots is a lot, though.
Yeah, so most likely what I figured. You're not getting a 2 to move back 8 spots really when you're that low in the first round. Let's see, 95.
You could probably run that 64 again. Don't offer it, because if they accept it, then we're stuck with it.
Okay, so you want to stick and pick here?
Well, it's really just a percentage-based thing. So if you offered them the same trade again and asked them if they were sure, they'd probably accept it. But to me, what I'd do is I would take Jackson Powers Johnson out of fear that he won't be there if we trade back, even with Brian Thomas Jr. still on the board.
Yeah.
But if you want to move back, we can roll the dice and see what's still there. Zach Frazier might still be there.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. You feel a certain type of way about Zach Frazier. I feel a certain type of way about Zach Frazier. Duke Manyweather, Mr. Miyagi of offensive lineman, feels a certain type of way about Zach Frazier. If for whatever reason, Jackson Powers Johnson were to be wiped by the time we get to 32, I'm still getting an extra day 2 pick. And, I still like guys like Zach Frazier. He can be my pick at 32, or if I want to even pivot and go a step further down the line, we can start talking about Cedric Van Pran on day 3. Yeah. I think there's other guys that I kind of view similarly. And what's interesting, I did this exercise the other day, actually, that of the top 10 highest paid tackles, only 2 of them weren't first round picks. The top 10 highest paid centers in the NFL, all but 2, or maybe it was all but 3, were rounds 2 and later. So I found that very interesting. But
yeah, I mean, that's kind of a little bit of the premium position stuff at work.
Yeah,
but exactly. I mean, there's also some truth to it. So if it were me, I'd be looking at, hey, I like some of the guys on the board here, but I'm willing to move back because I like enough people on the board to, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Go
All right, so they accepted it. They took pick 24. The Chiefs move up from 32 to 24. Cowboys, in exchange, get pick 32, and they add an extra day 2 pick. So they got 32 and 64 now. So we're looking at 32, 56, 64, and 87.
All right, so Jackson Powers Johnson came off the board 1 pick ahead of us. Who did the Kansas City Chiefs come up and get right there?
I'm guessing it's a receiver. Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr.
Came up for BTJ. Okay, and then Latu, Rob Chop, Franklin, Kool-Aid, Ladd. And so that's probably pretty accurate for the most part. So who do we got here? We got Peyton Wilson, Zach Frazier. I'm not touching those quarterbacks. I'm not that high on Sainris still right here over people like Frazier.
No chance, man. Especially not for, where you're weak, right? Once again, 3.2 yards per carry in each of the last 3 playoff losses. That would have been, if you adjust those last 3 games just over the course of one regular scheduled 17-game season, that would have been best. That would have been good for 28th in the National Football League in terms of rushing yards per carry over the course of an entire season. Just absolutely abysmal. We move back. We get a equal, if not potentially a better player, depending on who you like, who you trust, who you listen to, what your eyes tell you. Zach Frazier and Jackson Powers Johnson, by many accounts, including the mini man himself, Duke Manyweather, has him as your top overall graded center. I love what I see from him. I see nasty. I see power. I see just, I see him moving people, moving the line of scrimmage.
That's my pick.
And to me, I feel like the pick is a no-brainer. If we're being real here,
I agree. I hate to let Wilson go, but yeah. I got to fix my O-line here, and we secured the extra day 2 pick.
Yep. You never know, man. I mean, with the injury history, like you're saying, he's your top overall graded player, but you still had him as a day 2 pick, right? So who knows how many other teams are thinking the same way? There's a chance he falls to 56. You never know. And if he gets close, we want to trade up. Well, guess what? We now have an extra day 2. We've got pick 64 that we can package. We can send 2 of those to move up and go get them if we want to, right? Or whatever. We've got a little bit more ammunition. We still get a guy that we all like at that center position. Instantly upgrades your run game. Zach Frazier's the pick. Bingo.
Frazier is a Dallas Cowboys, ladies and gentlemen. All right, 56 and 64. So we're 8 picks apart here.
Mm-hmm.
Wilson's off the board. Sanders still's off the board. Newman, Nix, Rakestraw, Coleman, Robinson. Your guy went just after the first round. Tyler Guyton went in the second round.
What do you got on real quick? This question came up earlier, and I'm curious myself. What do you got on Tyler Guyton? In a trade back situation, the Cowboys take him at 32, say, where we just took Zach.
I got a day 3 grade on him and a round 2 projection. I'm not a Guyton guy.
Me either. And not for really I've got my reasons, but I listen to people like yourself. I listen to Bosh Lombardi, who is the resident O-line expert in this industry that we're in right now. And
it's just so
there's a lot to be. There's a lot to love as a prospect.
He's big and he moved good, but at least with Mims, he's big and he moves good. But at least with Mims, he's still kicking some ass and he's still doing it the right way,
right?
And a lot of reps. And Guyton's just all over the map, man. If you want to draft someone who's big and moves good, cool. I just don't want to do it in the first round. I didn't even have him with the second round projection. I did that out of cowardice because people were on my ass about it.
Gotcha.
So can't be me.
So we see, Roman Wilson, Tyler Newman go, Bo Nix goes to the Packers. That's interesting.
I got a second on Kingsley Chevy. I like Kingsley. I think his best football is ahead of him too.
Kingsley Sumatea, he's actually in the thumbnail. If you clicked on it, he's the BYU product at tackle.
I wrote about him at Cowboys Wire. If anyone wants to go searching for him, you'll find it.
Yep, I'm definitely going to do that after this as well. And you know what? Shoot, let's. I want to pause. I want to pause the draft so we can go take a look at it. But we'll do that after this. Somebody remind me after the mock draft concludes. We'll go back and take a peek at Kingsley Sumatea before we sign off, because it is getting kind of late here. So we need to breeze through some of these. And my phone's going to die here shortly. 18%. So TikTok, be ready. Okay. So where are we at, Ben? 43. Braden Fisk goes off the board to the Falcons.
Penix fell all the way to the Raiders at 44. They're probably ecstatic about
They're
that.
doing backflips right now. They're doing the Dan Campbell high five where he gets racked in the war room last year when they got Jahmyr Gibbs.
That's classic. Yeah, he's fun, man. Left-handed quarterback, has a weird throwing angle, can throw off platform, releases it all short, but it's just on the money. Purest deep ball in the class. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it is broke, fix it, because he got 4 season-ending injuries under his belt as well.
Yep. Jeremy says, you think Overshown could make an impact next year? I heard a lot of great things about him. Real quickly, there's still a massive acclimation period coming, and all the, let's say, like, while he's rehabbing last year, he spends all of his free time in the film room and studying the playbook from DQ and going over things as far as DQ's vision for DeMarvion Overshown. Right, we got to remember this is still the National Football League. There's a massive step. There's a massive acclimation period that has to come. And now he's essentially a rookie all over again, while also trying to recover as a speed guy at the linebacker position, a converted linebacker, mind you. Right, this was a safety coming into college initially, so he's still a converted linebacker, still trying to figure out now his second.
I thought he looked like the in training camp, because I watch a lot of the practice footage and stuff, because I'm a nerd like that. I thought he looked like.
For what it's worth, real quick too, I cover Texas as well, and so I'm a Texas fan saying this. I have a lot of questions about DeMarvion Overshown being an impact guy immediately this year. I would say tread lightly. Go ahead, Ben.
I thought he looked like the best linebacker that the Cowboys had before he was injured last year. So I'm excited about him, but I think he deserves. I think he's a weak side linebacker, though. Again,
no doubt.
Not so much a strong side guy. All right, so let's
please understand. I'm very excited about him too. I think he absolutely helps you. He's going to be a difference-making player. I just don't know if it's this year. That's all I was trying to get at.
So TJ Tampa is interesting. His problem for me is, if you're going to be a cornerback, let me put it this way: it's so much better to be a 4-3 cornerback than it is to be a 4-3 wide receiver. Because if you're a 4-6,
you're reacting instead of. You're reactive instead of proactive.
Right. If you're a 4-6 guy like TJ Tampa is, and you're matched up against a 4-3 guy, well, you're asking for trouble, right? But he's big, he's physical, he plays press man coverage really well. He's instinctive, he's in the right place to make plays on the football all the time. So he does a really good job of compensating for that speed disparity against really fast guys, but it is a disparity, and that's why he's a second-round pick. Wouldn't probably be too interested in taking him here. Who else is available? Because I don't really like any of these guys.
Yeah, let's scroll down here a little bit. I'm trying to respond to a question here. I'm just going to say it. So I don't have to type it and waste. So just be as time efficient as I possibly can. He says Texas versus Texas A&M this year, since I just showed the flag. My thoughts are Texas is the much better team. They're a much better roster. They have the better quarterback room. The better coaching staff as of right now. But guess what? Nobody loves anything more than Texas A&M loves to hate Texas. So that stadium, that atmosphere this year, that entire city is going to be flipped upside down, and it's going to be war from the second that week commences. And it's going to be a freaking fun place to be if you're a college football fan. But Texas should win that game. We'll see how it goes. All right. Let's see. All right, Ben. So we got TJ Tampa, Blake Corum, Jonah Ellis, Kieran Amagata, Chris Braswell.
Now, Braswell is intriguing because we did pick up another day 2 pick, and he's probably BPA for me. Cooper, Chevy says Cooper simply because BPA. I'm passing on Cooper because I don't need another weak side linebacker.
See, I love you for saying that. I really do, because that challenged my thought process as well. Now, granted, I should have already known beforehand. Like, you go back and listen to Edgerrin Cooper's interview. He's literally telling you what he prefers, right? He's saying, I'm a weak side back. I want to track and chase. And you know,
he needs to play free because he's not the best mental prospect, you know, as far as diagnosing pre-snap motion is going to mess with his compass. I mean, he needs to play free. If he makes a mistake, he'll do it at 100 miles an hour. That's not what this team needs. So I'm passing on him based off of the need alone.
Can I interest you in a player?
Who's the player?
We actually just talked about him. I'm not breaking any news
Kingsley?
here, but yeah, he's in the thumbnail. I love the prospect actually. And once again, you know what? I'm going to make the executive decision here. We're going to take Kingsley here.
You want to double dip at O-line?
I want to double dip. I want to double dip. And the reason being is because I still think this team is talented enough to get over the hump this year with their plethora of all pro level talents at important positions, not the least of which are quarterback. But I think when you're the number one offense in the entire NFL, but you are as deficient as you are running the football against playoff caliber opponents, and you get completely shut down your last 3 playoff losses. I don't know how many times I got to say that. For me, what better way to just say, okay, we are all in on addressing one of our 2 biggest weaknesses last year, which was running the football. Kingsley Suamataia affords you the ability. Not only you've got what you would believe if the Cowboys end up taking him, they would be telling us they project him as their starter at the position for at least, you know, the next 4 to 5 years, right? That's their dude, right? It affords you the ability to leave Tyler Smith where he's at left guard. You've already got your stud center, and your offensive line is completely intact with a Hall of Famer at right guard and a guy who is now going to be a full year removed from his ACL. So year 2 coming off the injury, and Terrence Steele looking to take a step forward and build off of the quality play and production that he actually did show late, like as the season commenced, right, and came to an end. So for me, man, I just think that's where the Cowboys are weakest. And
can I prompt you with an alternative?
Please do. Please do. Talk me out of Kingsley right here, please.
All right. Right now, Chris Braswell is probably going to be BPA on my board.
Okay.
And we already had the discussion about why adding an edge would be beneficial to this team.
Yes.
I can tell you right now, even without seeing how this is going to shake out on a simulator, Braswell is not going to be there at 64, but Kingsley might.
Got it.
Would you be willing to take the risk to shore up that position instead of immediately back-to-back double dipping at O-line and see if he's there? Or is it so important to you in your mind that it far outweighs the need for an edge and you'd rather wrap up offensive tackle, which, by the way, I think Kingsley's a better right tackle than he is a left tackle. But
I've heard that too. I've heard that before.
He played 1 year of both at BYU, but he's also still developing slightly. I think his best football is ahead of him by far. He is a through and through 5-star recruit coming out of high school, and he deserved that. I think he's still a 5-star type of player. So I'm not going to be upset if the executive decision is to say, no, we'll figure out edge later and tackle needs to be the pick here. So we know for sure that we've solidified this offensive line.
Okay, here's my rebuttal. And this, once again, this is just devil's advocate. This is a freaking fun. Now I'm getting addicted to mock drafts now that we're 1 day out. I love this. I'm actually having a blast right now.
Yeah.
Just going through all these different scenarios. But here's my rebuttal to that, okay? You asked the question. Totally fair, by the way. Is it more important to you to go ahead and solidify the offensive line as opposed to adding the much needed edge depth? That would afford you the ability to allow Micah Parsons to be more of a chess piece. I am literally leader of that fan club. And that's evidenced by a lot of the work that I've already posted on not only YouTube, but also TikTok over here. Okay. But my rebuttal is, if we want to be technical, how much would it change your mind? What would the Joneses say? Chris Braswell is technically not a starter for me.
I think they'd be very hesitant to double dip back-to-back picks at the O-line.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. But the one position that they nail historically is the offensive line position. That, you know, it's literally like clockwork almost at this point.
The same argument goes to literally what the conversation they had in the war room last year. They said, we're going to go a different direction because we've invested so much capital into the offensive line that some of these guys have to start being developed into starting caliber players.
But
and they just spent.
Has it been a ton of capital invested into that position? Like first round pick and Tyler Smith, yes, but who else are they referring to here? Like, you know, you were talking about undrafted free agent.
Well, you're talking about all the guys that they've let go at that point. You know,
right.
Between the Connor Williams and the Connor.
But
McGovern,
even still, anybody that has a question mark
players
beside their name on the roster right now, as far as the offensive line position is concerned, is not a heavy investment at all. They haven't spent a ton of capital at that position. They've thrown a lot of darts at it. TJ Bass, you know, that's an undrafted free agent right there. Brock Hoffman, that's an undrafted free agent right there. Terrence Steele, undrafted free agent. You know, like, yeah, one of those guys worked out. He's playing under a long-term contract right now, but that's the whole thing, that like Stephen Jones ain't fooling me. And I know the fans and the people that follow us aren't stupid, right? That's not a ton of capital to me, man. Like, if we want to talk about changing the foundation of who you are in the postseason, double dipping to me makes a crap ton of sense. But I understand where you're coming from, though. Like,
let's say Will McClay. Will McClay is the one that made that decision, and that was his reasoning in the moment for the pick at 20, whatever it was last year. 26, I think it was.
Bingo, Michael. Bingo. Yeah. Okay. So, Ben, you're my guest here. I love and appreciate your perspective. What's our pick here? 56 overall. You like Braswell because you think we still have a shot at taking Kingsley, and let's assume he is there at 64. He's currently.
Well, let's pretend like he's going to be gone. Let's let this be the deciding factor.
Okay.
Let's say, who else do we like in the event that Kingsley doesn't make it to us, and is it worth it to roll the dice?
Okay, let's do it.
Blake Fisher. There's one right there.
Yep. I've got
that's literally my backup plan. That's the only one out of that list that I see. Cooper Beebe's another one.
Yep.
That I would be happy with. But that's it. That's literally O-line concerned. Those are my backup options in the event that Kingsley's not there. Now, is that worth it to you to roll the dice and not go ahead and take him here? If it's not worth it to you, then you take Kingsley here.
Yeah, and I can even, like, in my head, I can simplify the process even further. Just, you know, and again, there's confirmation bias here, of course, just because of how passionate I've been about this particular discussion. But Kingsley starts for me today at left tackle, I think. You know, obviously he would have to win the battle, right? As a rookie, you'd have to earn the right to the starting job. But I mean,
all right. Well, dude, it sounds like Kingsley. It sounds like Kingsley's the pick.
He's not starting over Micah Parsons. He's not starting.
I can't believe that Amagaji is above him.
Yeah, that's interesting. Who's the
Just take Kingsley here. I mean, let's just consider ourselves blessed that he was available in the second round.
Okay.
And let's see where we land with who's available after that at 64.
Let's do it. All right. So okay. We're taking Kingsley.
We're taking Kingsley.
We are set up front. Our all-pro left guard doesn't have to move positions. We've invested in the trenches to help our quarterback out and, in theory, instantly upgrade your running game, which can only be a good thing. So that way Dak's not having to try to force the football into tight windows when teams are not respecting your run game at all, and they're just routinely dropping back 7 guys into zone coverage and asking him to thread the needle. Yeah, you're going to throw interceptions. All right, let me step off the soapbox here for a second. Let me go ahead and hit draft from Kingsley Sumatea. Here we go. 60. Here we go. Boom. That felt good, man. I'm not going to lie. Hitting that button felt good.
And Cooper is still there.
And we have 6 trade offers, it looks like, as well.
They wanna offer us 66 plus something to move up to 64.
I'll trade back twice.
Well, what's available?
Let's see who do we love here. Let's look at the list. Who's still on the board? I love me some. I mean, I do love Edgerrin Cooper. Not gonna lie.
I like him too. His pass rush versatility is definitely special.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
team day 3 running back for the reasons I've already stated. I think I like the talent in the top end of next year's draft a lot better than I like the talent in the top end of this year's draft. And I still think you can get a running back that can contribute on day 3, particularly with your 5th round pick in this year's draft. So I'd pass on someone like Jalen Wright, even though he's my number 1 running back in this year's draft. Junior Colson's there.
Yeah.
Now this is interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Very interesting. And I will say too, like another thing, like that was kind of in the back of my head, and then you just helped.
Falcons going nuts.
When you take a guy, when you double dip at the offensive line position, you make drafting a running back with a premium pick a lot less necessary, right? Because in theory, you're improving your offensive line, which is a direct reflection of the performance of your running game, of your running backs, in the running game. So it affords you the ability to go ahead and be a little bit more patient at that position. And now you have the option. You've got 2 top-end linebackers here that we both like that you can.
Marshawn Nealon's available. Rook Oro's available. I think he's a fine.
So talk to me about Rook. I haven't seen him at all, and I know who he is. I know what he does, but I have not studied his game one bit.
Sure. So Rook Oro, he's a 5th-year player out of Clemson. He's 6'4", 294. He's got 34-inch arms. That's very long. So he's got great reach. He can play up and down. Yeah, he could play up and down the line of scrimmage. They used him up and down the line of scrimmage. I would say in the NFL, you probably don't want him in the A gaps. You're probably looking B and C gaps.
Yeah, at 294, you better be somebody like Aaron Donald to be able to grown man.
But yeah, he packs a punch. He plays with good leverage. He knows how to stay square as a run defender. He's good with his stunts and his twist. He gets his extension in, keeps himself square to the line of scrimmage, square to the ball carrier, eyes upfield, whole 9 there. He doesn't really have a whole lot of diversity to his pass rush skill set. Countering once he's locked up and disengaging, if they were able to get inside his pads, he could improve there. And I did put that he doesn't have the best motor. I don't personally have a date. I've got a 4th round projection on him, but I have a day 2 grade. So I probably wouldn't go him here. It's a little low for me, but I do like the player overall.
Okay. All right. I like where your mind's at. A lot of people are going to be, I think Cowboys fans who have been paying close attention, right? They're familiar with Trey Benson, obviously, as they should be. They're familiar with Devontae Walker, Bucky Irving, obviously.
Chevy asked, can Colson take over at Mike after Kendricks? I think he can. Colson is a very smart football player. My biggest knocks on Colson, he checks the boxes for size. He checks the boxes for speed. He checks the boxes for physicality. He checks the boxes for being able to orchestrate the defense, to be able to call the defense, to be able to run the defense, be the quarterback of your defense. He's smart. He's not really fooled by things like pre-snap motion, anything like that. But he's a little stiff, and his start-stop and his change of direction aren't great. His ability to navigate through traffic is not elite. He can overcommit in his running lanes, maybe over-pursue the ball a little bit. But through and through, he's quite good football player and very smart. Definitely a strong side linebacker, which is something that the Cowboys are lacking here. So I would be okay with a Junior Colson pick here, even though I would have to pay Falcon 20 wings because he would have gone in the last pick of the 2nd round. I would do that to myself here. There's some intriguing Big Sweat. They're asking about Sweat from UT. Yeah,
I
man,
was
he just
gonna-
got arrested
I
with a
didn't see those
DWI.
comments. I was going to ask if he had already been taken. I'm curious to see what his stock looks like tomorrow. Or technically Friday, I guess. But
Yeah, I'm sure he's still on the board here. He's that's tough, man. It's really tough because class clown, party animal, arrested for DWI, all things that are heavily used to describe him in scouting reports.
yeah.
He's pushing 390 in the playoff game. Like, geez.
I'm not entirely sure that's accurate either. I've seen that report too. I'll double check. I'll do some.
That's out of Brugler's mouth.
Yeah.
Like, directly. So
yeah, I'm not sure how accurate that. I don't want to say anybody's wrong, anybody's right, but I want to ask a couple more questions. So I've heard that too, and it's been actually so far removed. I've been so focused on the draft, I forgot all about those storylines. But yeah, man. I mean, to me, Junior Colson immediately.
There's some wide receivers on the board.
I can't be hypocritical here. I want to run the football better next year, and I want to stop the freaking run better. Like that was one of the worst. The Cowboys were one of the worst run-stopping defenses for a playoff team, a 2 seed, mind you, that I have ever seen. Like, we're talking about a team that went toe-to-toe with another playoff opponent from the opposite conference, mind you, but the Bills, man, 49 carries for 300 yards. Are you kidding me? And you had no answer. You couldn't adjust because you didn't have the personnel. I mean, you refused to move Micah Parsons off the edge, right? People want to bang the table for him, leaving him there and just saying that's what he does best. That's where he belongs. But how much of a factor was Micah Parsons in that Bills game? Somebody tell me that, And
linebacker just going to completely annihilate your desire to get a wide receiver that can contribute to this football team?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily, but I think that
that's the only other position I think I might go here. Scroll up on the thing and go.
Yeah, I was looking at a couple of those guys too. Like
all
Johnny
the way up.
Intriguing. Oh, all the way to the top.
Yeah, and click on that drop down that says all and switch it to wide receiver.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right, so Jalen McMillan's available here. Jermaine Burton's available. Javon Baker, Malik Washington, all intriguing.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't go.
I think. I don't know, man. I would just lean.
I don't think any of those players outweigh the need for a strong side linebacker.
Exactly.
You could, but then again, if you didn't go strong side linebacker here, you could probably get something like a Trevin Wallace later on in the draft.
For sure. Yeah.
But I think Colson's the better player. I think outside of Peyton Wilson, he's the best strong side linebacker in this draft. And I think that's something the Cowboys are missing long term. And he's smart.
Yeah, you gotta be a smart.
Fun fact: he grew up in Haiti. He didn't move to the United States until he was 9 years old.
Oh, that's interesting.
Random fact. All right, I think Junior Colson's the pick here.
Yeah, I like that pick, man. I don't want to overthink it, and I don't want to be guilty of being a hypocrite either, man. Just as much like I'm gonna look back at this draft. I'm gonna go ahead and make the pick, but I'm gonna continue talking my way through it. I'm going to look back at this draft after reviewing, just kind of my process and all the content that I've put out this offseason so far since the meltdown against the Packers. And I'm going to be proud of myself, not getting too cute or overly excited about any unnecessary positions, even though it's very easy to do so. I think you instantly make your football team, like you sort of round out the holes in a lot of ways.
Probably my 2 favorite running backs in this draft.
Right
and
there.
Then you could start throwing in Benson and Vidal to round out my top 4. As far as my favorites are, one of them's off the board and Benson. And you still got Wright and Davis, but I'm team day 3 running back here, so I'm willing to pass on these guys now to get a better position with more value here and now.
Okay.
Wright was not brought in for a 30 visit Falcon. I do not believe so.
No, he was. No, he wasn't actually.
I wrote about like I think all 8 of them, and I don't think It's crazy. The amount of information you have to try and retain through this whole thing has been wild. But all right, so scroll down. Let's see who we got here.
Malik Washington's there. Cooper Beebe is still on the board. That's interesting. He's going to triple up on on the offensive line.
I've got a second round grade on him.
Yeah.
I think he's like right outside my top 30 as far as like overall prospects, but I can't in good conscience triple dip.
Yeah.
Tight end is interesting.
I was just about to say you were. I read your report. Your report on Ben. Is it Sinnott or is it pronounced Sino?
Sinnott. That's how I say it, is Sinnott, but I don't know. I watch all 22, not broadcast.
We'll go Ben Larimore instead. We'll call him Ben Larimore Sinnott.
Man, and I've even got a higher grade on Cade Stover. Cade Stover's my tight end 2. Ben Sinnott's my tight end 3, but Ben Sinnott's the better run blocker, I think.
Where do you have, just out of curiosity, where do you have Jatavion Sanders 4?
Yeah, 4. Yeah.
Yeah, his strength.
We're not going Trotter. We're not going to double dip back to back on day 2 at linebacker.
No way.
Jack Sermon from Cal. Let me address that. Jack Sermon from Cal. He landed a 5th round grade on my board. 6th-year player, 24 years old. I got him as an undrafted priority free agent, even with the 5th round grade. To answer your question there, Leadfoot. All right, so
T'Vondre Sweat is, just for reference, is way down here at 1.
It's an intriguing DT, right?
Definitely. I mean, he gives you instantly that body.
Keep in mind, we're not picking again until 174. So if we feel like we need a good pick, a good player here to fill until that gap until we're in round 5.
To me, so I'm looking to address holes where I need starters, right? That was part of
Here's my thing, and this is my biggest problem with our draft so far.
Okay.
You draft the best football players. That's how you stay the best team.
100%.
You do not use the draft to fill your needs, because if you're relying on a rookie to come in.
But this team does. That's the problem.
Oh, not rookies.
This team, they don't build through free agency the way that they should. We wouldn't have to be. We wouldn't have.
But that's the point, though. You're talking about these guys being contributors in 2 or 3 years. You see what I'm saying? So you're addressing the need, but you're doing it for the long term. You're not doing it for 2024.
Well, yeah, we have guys. We have 2. We've already 2 guys are going to start for us this year, day 1.
Yeah, but you understand that they're not going to come in and be great.
No, they're not. They're not going to be great. But I'm rolling the dice on two premium picks as opposed to 2 undrafted free agents filling in and potentially having to move my all-pro left guard.
Yeah, but the undrafted. All right. I mean, I hear you. I think you pass on BPA too many times. You're doing your team a disservice, is my point. And this is a very need-heavy draft that we've done so far. So
it is, but because I want to go win right now. Like I'm trying to fill the holes around my MVP caliber quarterback for one last all-in shot at a run here. I mean, I'm trying, like we all agree there's a lot of talent on this roster, right? And yes, I'm most of the time I am team BPA, but in this particular case with this particular team, it's BPA with an asterisk because you're not willing to necessarily fill holes through free agency the way that we would like for them to be. So
I got you. I mean, you and I have discussed the whole winning this year thing before, so I don't need to reemphasize. I just think for me, it's about building for the future, which is why taking the best football players makes a lot more sense in this draft, even though it appears that taking needs in this draft.
But so you don't think this team can win in 2024?
No. Can they win a game or games?
The way that they get over the hump.
Super Bowl? It's not happening.
That's what I'm saying. because they're
It's
out.
not the moment Dan Quinn left, it wasn't going to happen. You'll be lucky if your defense is firing on all cylinders come playoff time and a new complete scheme overhaul. And
That's
guys,
true.
half of them haven't even played under anyone other than Dan Quinn. So no, I am firmly under the opinion that this is going to be at least a 1-year overhaul to get back to a contention caliber team. Which is why philosophically, to me, it makes sense to take the best possible football players you can find, because that's not what the draft is to me. The draft has never been to me about filling needs. The draft to me is taking the best players, and as closely as they align with your needs, the better. But okay, if it's not, that's why talent acquisition is a 365-day.
Oh God, you sound like Stephen Jones. Yeah.
Well, I know,
I hear you.
And it is, but the problem is they don't execute that the right way.
Exactly. So what their words and their actions do not, they're not symbiotic.
They don't reflect each other, and I get that. You know what I'm saying? But to me, that's the way. If they wanted to get over the hump, that's the way they would need to do it. And so, all things considered, no, I don't think this is a Super Bowl contending team in 2024.
Well, for me, and I would tend to agree. I would say the odds of them being able to overcome all of that, right? Let's leave it at defensive coordinator change, right? That's a tough task, right? It is. I agree. But how much pull does Mike McCarthy have in the war room this year? That guy's coaching for his job too. He might be saying, like, look, I've got 2 guys who I feel are ready-made starters in this league, no matter what, up front and offensive line. I've got a guy that
it does. Jerry Jones just yesterday in the press conference said he pointed at Mike and said, this guy wore me out about an offensive lineman in the first round of last year's draft that we didn't end up taking.
Yep. I heard that.
So I don't think that Mike McCarthy has all this pull, and I don't care if he stands up on the table.
He wasn't on the hot seat last year, though.
I don't care if he stands up on the table and bangs his chest till he's red in the face. I don't think it's going to matter. Well, I think they're going to take the guys they want to take.
Yeah, I mean, we watched Rod Marinelli stand on the table and go and get Tristan Hill. You know, that was like what I'm saying is we've seen coaches have this sort of emphasis and pull in the war before,
right?
But if the reason what I'm saying is if I'm Mike McCarthy,
I'm more so talking about round 1.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I'm talking about like everybody since that point, basically. With is your team getting better? And
that's the other thing too, is I don't know if you're the GM and your coach is on a 1-year deal and you put him in that position, you chose not to extend him, and he's yelling at you because he wants a specific player for this little last hurrah of his while you determine if you want to pay him or not. Are you going to listen to him, or are you going to take the guy that you feel is best for your football team long term with or without that guy?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Will McClay who's really the guy that we're talking about here.
Sure. I don't think it matters which one of them it is. I think the principle of that still stands, unless they didn't extend him out of optics sake and they know he's going to be around. I don't see a reason in this world why they would start drafting guys for him if they don't even have any idea if he's going to be in the building in 365 days.
You're absolutely right about that. But I mean, if you're giving him one last shot, how much pull does he have? Like, maybe that's all I'm saying is that you have to have the mindset that you're going to go win right now. You do. Because if everybody's on a 1-year deal, your quarterback is too, then none of this discussion doesn't matter whatsoever. You're blowing it all up and you're starting over. And to your point, yeah, this is all about the future. But I didn't come into this mock draft with the future in mind. I came into it with 2024. And we still know that the fastest way that you minimize that learning curve on the defensive side of the ball with bringing in a brand new defensive coordinator, you asking everybody to essentially master a brand new scheme. You need all the veteran help you can get on that side of the ball. And once this draft happens, man, you know, me and you have talked about this, right? There's gonna be some heads that roll from teams and rosters all across the league. They're gonna figure out how
they're gonna keep bringing guys in.
Yeah, exactly. And so I get it. There is a contingency plan in place. This isn't what the Cowboys would do. This is what I would do. But their contingency plan is, hey, we've got 4 comp picks next year. If Dak Prescott does have to walk, you know, we've got a safety net built in. Like, you know, letting him walk is ridiculous. It's the dumbest thing you could ever possibly imagine. You should never let a quarterback of his caliber hit the open market. But that's neither here nor there.
I agree. And they've got until like March 13th or whatever it is of next year to get him extended.
Yeah.
That's probably the problem, is they're probably going to wait till after the season, and they're probably going to try and sign him before, you know, he hits free agency. But then his cards, he's going to be holding even more cards at that point in time, because he's like, why don't I just wait until, because I'm going to get paid.
He's going to hit the free agent market, and he's going to,
I'll be able to literally pick wherever I want to go, essentially, except for a handful of teams that are locked in with whatever quarterback that they have.
Yep.
So we'll see. But, I mean, so let's keep in mind here, we're at 87. We don't pick again for almost 100 picks. 87 more picks. We're at 87. We don't pick for 87 more.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So whoever we pick here needs to be with a purpose. And that comes back to the whole BPA versus need thing. Need thing, it's a defensive tackle.
No doubt.
And it's Tavondre Sweat.
Right. That's the last hole. But if we're nixing that, though, if we're having the discussion of we're not building for 2024, then that doesn't matter.
Yeah, but at this point in the draft, it's not about that anymore. You know, like,
but when does we can change? I guess that's my whole point. Is like, how do you know? Like, where's the line of delineation? You know what I mean? Like, that's
for me, it's about the premium picks, them day 1 and them day 2 picks.
Right. So those premium picks, though, picks, right?
The best players
available, 3 rounds,
really best players available.
Right. But there's 7 linebackers that are, most of which are day 2 guys that are on the 30 list. There's 6 offensive linemen, I think, that are projected to go in the first 2 days on that 30 list. Right. So that's just, I'm reading between the tea leaves here. Like, in my head, maybe it's
but in each one of those positions, running back, they had half of them were day 3 guys. Yeah. O-line, Goncalves, he's not a day 2 guy. You know, they have contingencies in place to take some guys that they feel good about in the later half of the draft, in the event that, you know, they go a different direction early, right?
Right.
So as much as the big names appear at those positions for, you know, day 1, day 2 type picks, they also appeared at those positions for day 3 type picks. So I don't think they're necessarily for sure limiting themselves in that regard. I think they're really doing a good job of covering their bases so that they have an open plan of attack come draft night.
Right. No, I agree with that. I'm just saying, because of what we know that their needs are and the guys that they're bringing in, there's 5 guys on the offensive line that are projected to go round 1. They're telling you, like, that's confirming, you know, at least in my head, where I'm at personally. Like, they're saying, hey, we got to get an impact starter right now at up front, and then we go from there. We elected to double dip. That was just part of the exercise in my thought process. But I am trying to fill holes and eliminate weak points within my roster. And I feel
I mean, it would shock me if they didn't go O-line in round 1.
For sure.
We'll see. But it also wouldn't shock me if they waited until round 2 and then someone they really liked was still there. So we'll see how that shakes out for sure. But as far as this pick is concerned,
87.
I mean, best player on the board for me is going to be Cooper Beebe. But you could go Braylon Trice here to help that edge situation, or you could go
I like Trice. I like Trice in this situation quite a bit.
We reviewed the wide receivers. I think
Mhm.
we see the running backs that are available, but at the end of the day, if you want to get bigger and stronger up front, and then there's the tight ends there as well, which I wouldn't hate because my standpoint as far as the run blocking out of the tight ends have to get better if you want to be able to run outside zone, things like that. Even your power run game, tight ends play a part in, but if you don't take a tight end in this year's draft, you're banking on the fact that Schoonmaker is going to take the step forward and become who he's supposed to be as a run blocker for this team.
They clearly like John
because
Stevens
Ferguson.
too,
I love Ferguson, but he ain't a run blocking tight end. He ain't that good at it.
Yeah. And I guess the discussion comes to we obviously know that's not Peyton Hendershot's game either. But how do they feel about John Stevens? I think they clearly
that's a wide receiver convert. He's not a run blocking tight end either.
He's not, but he's at least willing. He's shown you that he's willing to stick his nose in there. And the Cowboys are, they're freaking.
I think he's all about
they're gassing him up. They're gassing him up.
The upside for his pass catching game is what he's all about, which they obviously are trying to get more things going out of heavy sets with pass catching tight ends, which is cool. I think you need some of that on your football team, but I think that's the one area they're not lacking. If they go tight end, that guy needs to have some juice as a run blocker.
That's what Luke Schoonmaker was supposed to be, but he didn't pan out.
Right. Not year one. I mean, that's another part of drafting those older guys. Is like, oh, well, they're so good. Well, yeah, but they're 24 and they're playing against 19 and 20-year-old kids.
Yeah. I think at 87 here, I like Braylon Trice. We kind of talked about him aiding in the run game. Once again, I'm drafting for making my team better and eliminating just where you were bored, where you were abused. Let's keep it a buck. Let's call it what it is. Spade to spade. You got abused. In the run game on the ground last year. I think he helps you in that department. I think he also, he gives you some depth. He can spell D-law, even play, like you said, he's got some flex across the line of scrimmage, but instantly he makes you a little bit more physical up on the defensive front. And I think he also could, it frees up Micah Parsons to move around a little bit more. You got a little bit more depth there. So I think you're kind of killing two birds with one stone with Braylon Trice. That's just me. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm between Trice and I'm between him and Devondre Sweat here.
Okay.
Mainly because I feel like Trice might be the better value, but I feel like Sweat is the better need. And we're looking at an 87 pick fall here. If we don't pick whoever we don't pick, that position is going to be pretty depleted by that point in the draft. Later in the draft, you might be seeing an Evan Anderson or something like that. We kind of discussed him already.
Yeah. Let's do it this way.
You're not getting something good.
Right. Quality interior defensive players are at a much more of a premium than, serviceable edge players, right? I think there's in the way I see it, there's more depth that you can find at the bottom end of the draft at the edge position to me than interior, potential difference making players like Devondre Sweat. That's a day 2 guy at worst. I mean, a round 2 guy, most likely, if his incident didn't occur. So, that instantly helps. He's a body type that you don't currently possess until Mozzie Smith puts his draft weight back on. And then also he addresses, like you said, he's a need. You need a body there, and you need somebody that can kind of command the middle of your defense and not allow offensive linemen, your opponents, to climb to the second level and wash out your linebackers, your off-ball players. So
yeah, and I think he's a better finisher than Trice too. That's my biggest thing on Trice.
Yeah, Yeah, I am. It's cool to hear you say that though too, especially given the incident. But me, I'm obviously a little bit. I would favor Texas. Right? I try to keep it as objective as I can. I do actually pride myself in that, believe it or not. But I think this pick fits, man, big time. And
I don't know, dude. I think I'm just going to go ahead and make
Cooking with gas, huh?
Yeah, I love what we have so far, dude. I really do.
My dog Ezekiel Smelly, it's over here getting his daily pets in.
Yep, and we gotta keep it. We actually got to probably wrap this thing up. My phone's dead over there now. My microphone is about to die.
All right, well, let's run through these.
Gotta wrap this bad boy up, and then we'll get people out of here. And
let's run it quick. Is Kamani Vidal here?
Oh, let's see. Vidal. Oops. There he is.
Vidal.
Yep.
Take
You like
Vidal
Kamani
here.
Vidal?
Kamani Vidal is an absolute dog. He adds a lot to your running back room, and you got him in the 5th round, and you filled your bigger needs earlier in the draft. This would be a great pick here.
Let's do it.
Full send.
Let's do it. And then I want to take a peek at him too, and just kind of let you maybe give a few talking points about your guy there, along with Kingsley Sumatea that we'll do at the end.
All right. We got Tip Raymond's a great run blocking tight end.
Yep.
We just took our running back, so we don't need to go there. We could look at a wide receiver here. We could look at Elijah Jones. Okay, so Casey Washington and Elijah Jones right there. I have them both probably graded higher than where we're at in the draft right now. So I think those would be 2 really good picks if we wanted to go with a skilled position guy.
Talk to me a little bit about Washington. More slot receiver, more outside, more. Does he have?
He can versatile. Versatile. I like him a lot. I actually have a 3rd on him.
Okay, damn.
But I'm higher on him than most people. I just do. For the
sake of the exercise, then let's say I'm down to do that. Let's trust your eyes and your work here. Let's go Casey Washington just for the sake of the exercise, and then let's see where he ends up on day 2 potentially.
I mean, 6 foot, 200, runs a 4.4. Mm-hmm. Really aggressive at the catch point. Can play in the slot. Can play outside. He's got that acrobatic catch ability. He's got quick feet off the line of scrimmage. Can work against leverage. He's got quality hands. He's smart, instinctual, high effort guy. He knows how to operate on scramble drills, works towards his quarterback in the direction he's running there on extended plays. Yeah, I mean, contested catch rate, dude. I mean, you're looking at a guy that's well above 50% on contested catches out of Casey Washington. I'm just a big fan of his game. I think there's a lot of dog in that fight when it comes to Casey Washington.
Let's take him, and I haven't studied him yet, so I got him written down. I'm curious you've definitely piqued my interest. So for the sake of the exercise, like I said, I'm going to trust you on this one, and let's see where he ends up. That'll be a fun one to monitor as we –
all right, we got 2 picks left, both 7th round guys here.
Show me some upside. Talk to me about upside.
Is Trey Taylor here?
Let's look.
Probably not. He's probably long gone. Trey.
Oops.
Oh, Ta. Oh, I think it's Or. He's gone. All right, that sucks. That's a safety out of Air Force. Big fan of his game. Bub Memes is good. Ryan Watts. You probably know a thing or two about Ryan Watts. He's a super freaky athlete. He's got him listed here as a cornerback. I think he's more of a safety. I think he operates well in space. When the play's in front of him, he's a super athlete, super charged up, closing speed, all that good stuff. I think you drop him back into coverage. I wouldn't be mad at Milton here, Falcon says.
Dude, that's so interesting that you say that about Ryan Watts. So he's transferred out of Ohio State, right? He was a 2-year starter at Texas. Actually, maybe 3 years. Yeah, memory don't serve there. But dude, he played predominantly the boundary corner position, and like I wouldn't characterize him as this twitched up athlete that can break. Like I really just never saw him. I mean, most of the time he was, the boundary corner position in college is much different than it is in the NFL for obvious reasons, right? Just based on the hashes. But you're closer to the line of scrimmage. He's very physical in the run game, willing tackler. But that's interesting to hear you characterize.
I like him at safety because he can come down in the box and get jiggy with it.
I've heard that before, actually, and I don't hate that. The thought of him moving there. for me, I didn't see this souped up, supercharged, twitchy dude at the outside. I always pictured him as more of your physical run stuffing, like, kind of get handsy with you at the line of scrimmage and try to ride, as opposed to just relying on twitch. But that's interesting to hear you say that. But I definitely
he's a 4-5 guy.
yeah.
It's not.
But still, that's
I don't like him on the edges to get. He's quicker more than he is fast. I'll put it that way. And he's big and he's physical and all that good stuff, which is why I feel like
big and physical for sure. That would be
you put him in the box as a safety or things like that. Let him drop back off the line. He's not going to be a rangy free safety guy. I'm not saying he should drop back and be a center fielder type of guy, but some upside there. Jalen Ford's interesting. He's probably more outside linebacker-ish, kind of versatile type of guy. That's all your Texas guys coming in right here.
Right. Yeah, towards the end. Yeah.
Sam Hartman is an absolute dissecting machine from within the pocket. The moment there's pressure, it's trouble. Edefwan Ulafosio is an intriguing one. He's another one of those 24-year-old guys, but my gosh, does he get downhill in a hurry? I know his average depth, if you click on it, I bet his average depth of run tackle is probably like somewhere in the 2-yard range. Oh, no, it's actually 4. I actually thought he was a lot better at that than it is here. But look at that coverage grade, though. That's
the first thing that I noticed. That's interesting.
Probably pretty accurate for him.
And this gives you
maybe more of a –
hell yeah.
I liked him better in run defense than this shows, actually. So that's interesting. But who else we got available?
Let's see.
Hampton from Washington is a good shout from Chevy. That's a very instinctual guy right there. Another older guy as well. But Hampton from Washington as a safety, he'd be decent. What is there a position in mind that you're feeling here, or do you want to?
I mean, all the positions.
What's on the next page?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a peek. We've pretty much covered most of the glaring bases, but I think now you're just kind of like you're just taking a shot on upside. Looking for traits specifically, like obviously we know the Cowboys love arm length for their corners. I don't know how much that changes. But say it again.
Dallas Gantz, an Ohio State transfer that balled out at Toledo. He's got to get his mental right a little bit, but he played really well there at the lower level of competition. Brevin Spanford's another one of those. He might be the best run blocking tight end in the draft.
You think so? Who's the oh, there's another Kingsley. Kingsley Egwakun.
Yeah, center out of Florida. He's all right. We wouldn't take him, obviously, because we already took one.
Right.
Aaron Casey's a middle linebacker. That dude gets downhill in a hurry, but he arm tackles and is just overly aggressive at times.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm all about – I would say – like, we're talking about building for the future as well as, we had that discussion earlier. I think regardless of how you view the Cowboys' ability to be able to go and compete and get over that hump and actually contend for the Super Bowl this year, you still have such glaring holes at offensive line, linebacker, defensive tackle. Like, if you're talking about planning for the future, then let's go ahead and plan for the future, and let's just double dip at another position. Let's take another linebacker that you like, I mean, that it doesn't have to be super difficult. I just try to simplify the process, man, because there's so many different variables and components. But with this team, the way that they do business, I'm just saying to myself, like, I think that they may even have a skewed view of their current level of competence. And I don't know how much they're discounting their ability to master a new defensive scheme and be able to kind of parlay that with the basically the perimeter talent on both sides of the ball that they do have. But I mean,
Yeah.
To
So
me,
let's take another look.
It's pulling teeth to get just to make your defense, if not better, and in the turnover department or the points per game department or whatever, just be more balanced, man. Like, just be a little bit more balanced. That way, you can't.
So
that's all I'm saying.
I hear you. Let's do this. Go up to the top and select linebacker, safety,
Okay,
tight end, and cornerback.
let's do that.
You can do more than one.
Will it let me select multiple positions?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
It sure will.
Linebacker.
You just got to do them one at a time.
You said safety?
Yep.
Okay. And where else? Interior?
Cornerback.
Oh, corner. Okay.
And tight end.
Oh, shoot. My bad. Corner, safety, backer, tight end. All right. Got it. Boom.
All right. So let's see what we're working with here. We got Ryan Watts. Nathaniel Watson was the most productive linebacker in the SEC last year.
Yeah, I've studied him a little bit. Daquan Hardy. Interesting.
I'm not sold on him. Ulofoshio for coverage, man. Was Hampton gone? Kenny Logan's interesting. Yeah, he's not at the top. We haven't gotten to him yet. I bet Hampton's long gone. I'd go no BS, dude. I'd go span forward here in the hopes of having another beefy tight end that can run block, and then take our pick from the rest of this list on the next one.
Say less, dude. I mean, you know where my head's at. You don't have to say anything else. If you tell me he can run block, he can help you move the line of scrimmage up.
Yeah,
front.
you know what? Scratch that. Let's hope he falls to the next pick. Take Nathaniel Watson here.
Okay.
Most productive linebacker in the SEC last year. And
Bingo.
then let's hope that either Ryan Watts or Brevin Spanford is here on the next one.
Looks like Watts. Oh, if it didn't, my filter went away. Hold up. Corner and tight end. Where are you? Wait. Sorry, guys. Corner, tight end. Boom. There he is. Oh, wait. There he is. Brevin Spanford. Bingo.
Pick.
And just like that,
ladies
man.
and gentlemen, would
Ladies
be
and gentlemen.
the Lando
Just like
shows.
that, we've solved all of our holes. that isn't possible and won't be possible.
Okay, we should have taken Blake Corum instead of Junior Colson. How about that, Falcon? Uh-oh. Did we lose you? Did your mic die? Hey, what's up, Gilbert? Welcome to the party, man. We just finished a mock draft. We lost our screen here and our host. So we'll see what we can do in the meantime. What'd y'all think of the mock draft, guys? Would y'all be happy if that's what we walked away with? We traded back from Kansas City. We took Zach Frazier. We picked up the 64th pick. We ended up taking Kingsley, Suamatea, and then we took oh wow, look at me. I am now the host of the Lando show. We took Zach Frazier after trade back to 32. We got Kingsley at 56. At 64, we picked up. What did we take at 64? We had a big old. It was Junior Colson. We picked up Junior Colson, linebacker out of Michigan. And then at 87, we went to Vondre Sweat. So we got our 2-0 line, our linebacker, and our DT. We bumped it up over to day 3. We picked up a running back and Kamani Vidal. And then in round 6, we got
We back. I told you guys
There he is.
my laptop
Who'd
was
we
about
take in
to die.
round 6? I forgot. I know we just got Brevin Spanford and Nathaniel Watson in round 7, but I'm missing the round 6 pick.
Casey Washington.
Casey Washington, wide receiver out of Illinois, slept
Yep.
on, and that's stamped by me. We'll see where he goes, if he goes, and what opportunity he has when he gets there. Because you know how geography lottery plays into the whole production thing. No Brooks? No Brooks. Sorry to disappoint.
No Brooks. That's correct. Man, this was so much fun, and honestly, probably a lot longer than we should have kept y'all. But for those who tapped in with us, we really appreciate you, man. This has been the first of many.
Baby.
It's streamlined my process, make it a little bit more efficient, a little bit more interactive. This is my first time quarterbacking StreamYard and sharing my screen so that you guys can see. But Ben, thank you so much, dude, for the time today and for all your hard work that you put into this industry and covering this team. And I know that sooner rather than later, you'll get the respect and credit that you deserve, brother.
That's all you, brother.
Keep brick by brick, dude. Keep plugging away, man, because you're well on your way. Whether you realize that right now or not, it's not going to be long. It won't be long. So salute to you, man. Keep doing your thing.
Likewise, my friend. Likewise.
Yep. If you guys are still here with us, there's still 11 people in the chat right now. Please, the best way that you can help me out is just hit that like button for me. That's all I ask. Just do one simple task. Subscribe if you feel like you want to go the extra mile, but the like button, it works wonders for me, man. I'm growing this thing in and
some love. Get some W Landos in the chat, man. W Landos. Let's see it. I better see at least one W Lando before we end this thing. I swear.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'll do it for myself, because if you don't love yourself, man, who will? Right? That's what they used to say. Good stuff, man. Ben, thank you again, dude. Can't wait to do it again. Looking forward to the draft tomorrow. Let me know if you're free. Hopefully we'll be linked up and acquainted with each other tomorrow, man.
All right, Leadfoot. Yeah, man. Hit me up. Let me know, and we'll see what we got going on.
Good deal. Thanks, guys.
One love.